Hello, everybody. Hey, what's up? What's going on, everybody? How you doing? What's going on? What's going on? More voguing. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Happy to see you. Happy it's Friday. It's time to live stream, everybody. It's time to live stream. Okay. So, what's going on today? First, we're going to be talking about a guy who gave a college speech about women, targeting women. We're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her spiciness.
And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you.
And then, I want to talk about Jerry Seinfeld today too, because like it's a little bit of a weird situation, because like I actually like Seinfeld, like it's an old 90s television series and I like it, but like Jerry Seinfeld himself, I like as an individual person, has recently like come out in calling out like cancel culture, even though the term cancel culture is very outdated at this point and like nobody fucking like goes with that anymore. We're gonna explain further what I mean. Let's see. Neogenian femboy Skylar says, I'm going to be starting my testosterone shot soon. Well, good luck to you, honey. Yeah, I've been doing testosterone shots for roughly a year now, and they've been working really well for me. Like, I like it a lot. It's hard to, like, see, like, on camera, but, like, there's definitely been changes to my body. There's been, ever since I've taken testosterone, I've had, like, fat redistribution. That's not how you say that. Anyways. So, like, pretty much the fat around my hips has, like, depleted. Another side effect of testosterone, facial hair, which I like. It's coming in scruffy. Kind of like grandma hairs, which is really funny because, like, my cis man friends are like, dude, shave. You need to shave. And I'm like, all offended, like, bro, what do you mean? Are you offended by my face hairs? And my cis men friends are like, no, I'm not offended by that. You just need to shave it because it's fucking scraggly grandma hairs. Like, they're totally supportive, but they're like, dude, it looks like shit. Shave that. What's another benefit of taking testosterone for me as a trans masculine? Bottom growth. That's another weird subject. Let's just say I like it. But anyways, yeah, good for you. Cassie says, I love Seinfeld, the show, but he gives me the ick when I found out he dated a high schooler when the show was famous. Gross. True. You know, I am a big fan of the show Seinfeld when it was on TV. But unfortunately, Jerry Seinfeld was involved with a teenager when he was 38 years old. When Jerry Seinfeld was 38 years old, he had a 17-year-old girlfriend. And that's a little, controversial for several reasons. So good to see everybody. Let's say hello to people in the chat. I see Cassie. Cassie is one of our lovely moderators and intelligent beings. Thank you so much for being here. I see Angelica. Good to see you. Cassidy. Good to see you. Christopher Smith. Good to see you. Specs. Good to see you. Liz Leaf. Good to see you. Stoic Jeff. MC Heavyset, good to see you. We're going to cover a couple of cool things today. Also, at the end of tonight's stream, I kind of want to get into skibbity toilets. I know that sounds weird, but, like, I hope to get into skibbity toilets. Why is my light, like, all fucking, like, weird? There we go. Light's better now. Skibbity bop up, yeah, yeah. Skibbity bop up, yeah, yeah. Hello out there. Thank you everybody for coming. Just so you know, I am Jan. I don't know if you're new to my channel or not. I am a Neogenian, and I cover topics from a Neogenian perspective. Not every subject we cover has a hard Neogenian lesson, but I am not shy or afraid of talking about, like, the hardcore Neogenian system. So it's like when that topic comes up, when it comes up appropriately, like I will dive into that. But for the most part, I'm just a Neogenian person that loves to identify with the Neogenian system. I am Neogenian, and I'm not here to teach you about Neogenianism per se, but I am a Neogenian, and I don't know, I do stuff, so if you like that, then like come hang out with me. So tonight we're going to talk about Harrison Butker. Harrison Butker made like a weird speech about women. We're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She decided to mock colleagues' appearances at the House Oversight Committee meeting. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Jerry Seinfeld. And then maybe a couple of other things. I kind of want to talk a little bit about how Ricky Gervais actually blocked me on Twitter. And kind of get into that a little bit, but not so much. It's not like a hard topic. So anyways, before we start going on about things, we're just going to give a little bit, like a few more minutes for people to get in. So in the meantime, please say hello. Please introduce yourself. Please say anything, and we'll just hang out for just the next like 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll get started on our main subjects. I see Nano. Hello, Nano. By the way, I am starting to game. And on Saturdays, I do my gaming stream, unless the Neogenian Oculus is streaming the YouTube channel. There's a YouTube channel called Neogenian Oculus. And sometimes they stream on Saturdays, but on the Saturdays that they are not streaming, I am streaming, and that is my gaming day. So tomorrow, I'm going to be starting a brand new video game. Recently we started a video game. It's called the Pool Rooms game. It's sort of like a vaporwave, like backrooms themed, like maze game. And we're going to be starting a new one in the same sort of genre tomorrow. So like if any of you are interested in me gaming interesting games that aren't run-of-the-mill, like they're kind of like odd games, join me tomorrow when I stream tomorrow. By the way, I don't know if any of you are hardcore Neogenian or not, but we totally have had an awesome book released literally yesterday. So Morg put out a new book about the Neogenian system, laying out the foundation. I've already read it. It took me like 6 hours to read, and I'm a really slow reader. So like if it takes me like 6 hours, you're gonna finish it in like 3 hours. It's a very good book. If you are very confused and conflated about like what the fuck Neogenian is, like what our system is about, like where we stand as a foundation, as a community, you should read this book. And you could read this book and no other book about Neogenian and get a good foundation as to where we stand. Like you don't have to like dive super deep into our system to understand it. Like you can just like read this book, which will take you like maybe 2 to 3 hours, maybe more if you're a slow reader, and you can get it. So I'm really excited about this new book that's out now. I'm really happy about it. It is called It's called Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind. The Neogenian System Book 1. So this is first of many books that are going to release this year. I've already bought this book. I've already read it. Like, it's a really fantastic book. I love it a lot. Something that's just like kind of like stupid that I notice is that like there's these people down here who are like leaving false reviews. Like this guy right here. This guy says it was so boring, you guys. Save your money. Don't waste your money. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's not very helpful. So, I don't know what the fuck. Like, I don't know. Mark has some haters that are like really pathetic, like sort of like tinfoil hat people. Like, they're literally people who have like these weird conspiracy theories. Like, for example, that Morg is like the FBI. For somehow, like, Morg is an FBI agent. Like, there's some weird tinfoil hatted people, like, just leaving, like, comments on here. So, anyways, you don't have to, like, pay any attention to that. If you have bought this book, and, if you, and not even that, like, who cares if you bought the book? Like, if you want to leave a review that's, honest and genuine and your opinion, and I don't even care, like, you could be critical of the Neogenian system, it really doesn't matter to me, like, but if you want to leave like an honest, genuine opinion on this book, that would help out. I don't know what these people doing this fake ass review shit, I mean, I guess it feels cathartic for them. I think that's it. I think these people who are leaving fake reviews, like, this feels cathartic. They're like, oh, we're making a difference. It's like, no, you're not. I mean, it seems like that at the moment, but it's not gonna last. Trust me, in the long run, it's gonna disappear. So, but anyways, if you want to just leave a genuine, honest review on this book, I think you should. And I don't care what it is, as long as it's honest, frankly. Better than these fake reviews that just, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know. I think they feel special. I just have to laugh, because it's like, these silly people, like, they really feel like they're doing something important, okay? I guess we should pat them on the head, because they feel like they're doing something important, but they're not. Like, they're just random trolls and haters, and they don't know what the fuck they're saying. They don't have any clue what they're doing. They're just blindly following their leaders. That's it. But anyways, I have already read this book. This book is amazing. If you want to know about the Neogenian system, this is a good book to start with. Pretty much just starts you off by talking about how to approach what reality, like, if you have ever had the thoughts, like, what is reality? Like, what is the universe? Like, what are we? Like, what is I? Like, what is the answer to the reality of the universe, right? Like, what is the answer to life? This book is going to get you started on there. Because for one, it approaches pathways. It breaks apart and talks about various pathways that humanity takes to try to answer the question, what is reality? What is reality? What is life? What is this world? Where are we? Who am I? What is this? Like, those questions. This book will get you sort of like grounded on that area. So this book kind of like breaks apart not every single intricate aspect of humanity towards that question of what is reality, what is life, what are we, what is the meaning of life. Like, it doesn't like explore very specific things, but it kind of categorizes things into basic pathways of like, hey, you have this general pathway of faith-based religion, which is like your Judaism, your Muslim, like Arabic sort of thing, your Christianity, like your major basic like faith-based mainstream religion. Like, let's explore their approach to what reality is. Then the book takes that and puts it aside, and it says, let's talk about science. Let's talk about the scientific perspective of what reality is, from the sort of like materialistic empiricism like paradigm of science, where like it kind of challenges the part of science where science says that reality and us is just a mere pile of dead atoms. And this book tackles that and says, like, hang on a minute, I don't think so. And then another pathway it sort of breaks apart and challenges is the New Age, like, spiritual path, which is sort of like an endless sea of just like whatever, right? Like, New Age spiritualism can go anywhere, any direction, anytime. But it has some good concepts. So this book breaks apart like the faith-based Christian, like Abrahamic religious view. It breaks apart the materialistic science point of view, and it breaks apart the sort of New Age wishy-washy woo-woo like part of reality, and it breaks those apart, but it leaves you with something. Okay, so like this book doesn't just break those things apart and leaves you like hopeless and endless. It shows you very specifically that reason itself is the one true constant thing that we have to rely on in reality. And I could definitely dive in deeper as to like more about that, but honestly, I think you should just read the book. I am a slow reader. I don't read very fast, and it took me about 6 to 8 hours to read this book, but I finished it really quickly. Like, I've already finished it. So if you want to read this, I think it's important because it's going to lay out the foundation of what Neogenian is. If you're a spiritual person and you kind of like think about conspiracy theories and stuff, you should read this book. If you're a atheistic person but you're not quite sure if we are literally dead atoms, you should read this book. And if you're a Christian or you know, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, or if you're Muslim, if you're Abrahamic, like, you should read this book if you're like wondering like what's going on, because this book will definitely bring you to a crossroads where reason is supreme. Reason is at the head of things. Reason is the one thing we can rely on, and I think that's really important. Alright, let's close this music. I think we got a good enough like intro here. Let's start talking about the shit we're talking about. How about that? So the first thing we're going to talk about today is Harrison Butker. I think he's a football player. Anyways, you know how sometimes, like, when there's colleges that are ready to have that moment where, like, a generation of kids graduate, they like to bring a quote-unquote special, like, celebrity or person to come to the college at the end of their graduation year and give a big speech to sort of motivate them and inspire them to make decisions further in their life. Well, this is one of those guys. You know how like some fancy-pantsy celebrity people come and give speeches at colleges to, like, inspire them, I guess. Well, this is one of those guys. And what is it? Who is Harrison Butker? Hold on. Who is he exactly? Harrison Butker. He's an American football kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs of the National Football League. He played college football at Georgia Tech and was selected by the Carolina Panthers in the 7th round of the 2017 NFL Draft. He is second in NFL history in career field goal percentage with 98.1. Okay, so he's a white guy in college with a football scholarship. Okay. And this guy has a speech to give. Now, when kids graduate from college, from a university, it's kind of a tradition for some celebrity or like famous person to come to the college of the students who are like ending their final year in college and just like sort of give them a little bit of a motivational speech. The problem is it's not always guaranteed that that speech is going to be good. So let's look at what Harrison Butker has to say to the students who are about to graduate. And I warn you, I'm going to warn you right now, this is very misogynistic. It is very misogynistic. Like, the way this guy talks, like, we're going to listen to what this guy says. It's very misogynistic. So, just warning you right now, if you're not in the mood for that, like, leave, come back later, like, I don't know, but, like, the shit this guy says is going to be really upsetting. We're going to dissect it, okay? So, like, let's take a look, all right? Let's go.
Of the class of 2024. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2024, I would like to start off by congratulating all of you for successfully making it to this achievement today. I'm sure your high school graduation was not what you had imagined, and most likely neither was your first couple years of college. By making it to this moment through all the adversity thrown your way from COVID, I hope you learned the important lessons that suffering in this life is only temporary. As a group, you witnessed firsthand how bad leaders who don't stay in their lane can have a negative impact on society. It is through this lens that I want to take stock of how we got to where we are and where we want to go as citizens and, yes, as Catholics.
Okay, so far it seems pretty good, but so far he says, like, this is what we're looking at as citizens. And then he proceeds to say, yes, as Catholics. Okay. But not everybody is Catholic, so what's your point, bud?
One last thing before I begin. I want to be sure to thank President Minnis and the board for their invitation to speak. When President Minnis first reached out a couple of months ago, I had originally said no. You see, last year I gave the commencement address at my alma mater, Georgia Tech, and I felt that one graduation speech was more than enough, especially for someone who isn't a professional speaker. But of course, President Minnis used his gift of persuasion and spoke to the many challenges you all faced throughout the COVID fiasco and how you missed out on so many milestones the rest of us.
Bro is going on about COVID. That's kind of a red flag. Yo, COVID, the COVID pandemic, it's not necessarily over. I mean, we still have a COVID problem, but it's kind of over, right? Like we've already determined, like just as we determined the Spanish flu, even though it was like an epidemic, it still exists, right? But like, as COVID is just going to be a part of humanity now. But it's still a nasty fucking virus. But it's interesting to me how this guy brings up COVID as if it's still relevant, because frankly, it's not.
Older people have taken for granted. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all.
So recently in the political spotlight, we have the issues of abortion. And not only abortion, but we have political motions from states to abolish surrogacy, so surrogate births. So it's interesting to me, where am I going with that? I guess I'm just interested in the fact that it's not just about abortion. It's not just a movement about abortion, like keeping kids alive. It's about something greater. It's not necessarily about keeping children alive. It's about limiting people's options to the point where not only are they saying abortion is wrong, but surrogacy is wrong. You know, a surrogate situation is when, like, two parents can't produce a child, and so they rely on a separate person to have a child, to ingest a child, to produce a child, to ingestate, you know, a pregnancy. So movements that are against abortion currently are not only just against abortion, they're against the concept of like in vitro or surrogacy. In vitro is a thing where women who have a hard time getting pregnant have to resort to medical practices that help them get pregnant by literally taking the eggs out of a person. Like, you take the eggs out of a person and you, under the microscope, introduce and inject a sperm so that you can put into a test tube a successful, like, union of, like, sperm and egg, and then you take that and you implant that into somebody who can then finish the pregnancy and the gestation of the child. So that is also being fought against, which is really sad for straight people, like cis straight people, because, like, straight couples sometimes have a hard time having a healthy pregnancy, so they kind of have to rely on things like surrogacy, like having a child through another person who can, like, be impregnated, or like doing in vitro where they have to have, like, the egg and sperm unionize in a test tube before it's inserted into the person to be gestated into, like, a thing. So, like, we have, when people talk about political movements, when there's political movements and political ideas against abortion, it's important to pay attention and realize that they're not just talking about abortion itself. They're talking about any possible way to conceive a child that's outside of the scope that they deem natural, quote unquote natural, as in, like, you just have to have, like, a penis in your vagina and that's the only way you can make a child, and if that doesn't happen, then fuck you. You know, like, it's really biased towards straight people who sometimes have a hard time having a conceptualization or having a child themselves the traditional natural way. Because cis straight couples have to rely on things like in vitro surrogacy sometimes to like procreate and have like their own children. So pay attention. That's all I'm asking. Pay attention to anti-abortion laws. They're not just anti-abortion laws. There are other things too that are very supportive of cis straight people having children, but they prevent them from having those children anyways.
Stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must
not pretend that the Church of Nice is not a winning proposition. So he's basically saying that he's telling his church members that you can't be nice. Like, being nice is not enough to get what we want. Which is, I don't know, weird, because, like, I guess I personally just don't understand the difference between Catholics and Christians, because it seems like there's a difference there. But the reason I don't know much about that area is because I grew up Mormon, which in of itself is Christian-like. It's kind of like being Christian, but not really. Like, not at all. Like, at the same, like, it's kind of like being Christian, but not at all. So, I grew up Mormon, so I am very unfamiliar with the differences between what would be considered Catholic and what would be considered Christian. I honestly don't know.
speak and act in.
So, I don't know, like, is this a predominantly, like, Catholic school? Is that what's going on? Like, because I'm not sure, like, why this guy is giving a speech to college graduates. Because, like, if he's predominantly, like, Catholic, it's like, I think Cassie said something earlier. What did Cassie say? Cassie said, so no one vetted this speech. Yeah, so that's what's confusing to me. No one vetted the speech. No one reviewed the speech this guy was going to give before he gave it. So, I guess I'm going to... Cassie's like, I think it's a Catholic school. Yeah, please inform me, because, like, I am totally... All I know is that I'm watching this guy give a speech to college graduates. I don't know what fucking college this is. I don't know why he's predominantly speaking from a Catholic point of view. I don't know. I am shooketh and baffled in all of that.
Charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice. It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation for speaking my mind. I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it.
Okay.
As members of the church founded by Jesus Christ, it is our duty and ultimately privilege to be authentically and unapologetically Catholic. Don't be mistaken, even within the church, people in polite...
Mark says Catholic comes down to whether you see the leadership of Christianity as the Pope and the Vatican. So, is the difference between Christians and Catholics? Catholics see the ultimate order and message of God through the Pope, whereas Christians see the ultimate message of God through their own conceptualization of Jesus? Is that right? Is that a good way to say it? Yeah, what's the difference between Catholics and Christians? Why don't we look that up? Why don't we just do it like a cold, hard, like, Google? What is the difference between Catholics and Christians? Let's see. Broadly, Roman Catholicism differs from other Christian churches and denominations in its belief about the sacraments, the roles of Bible and tradition, the importance of the Virgin Mary, and the saints, the papacy. This is something that's like outside of my understanding because, like I said, I grew up Mormon. I grew up Mormon, so like Mormonism is completely outside the scope of Catholicism or Christianity. You see, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. The same goes for Catholic versus Christian distinction. All Catholics are Christian, but not all Christians consider themselves Catholic. Although 1.3 billion Catholics make up the majority of the world's nearly 2.4 billion Christian population, several other Christian denominations have unique personal beliefs, holidays, and religious practice that differ from the Catholic Church. These groups are called Christians because they all believe Christ was the promised Messiah. However, Catholics and other Christians are divided on various interpretations of the notated Word of God found in the Holy Bible. It doesn't really say much, though. All Christians' religions are based on the teachings of Judean religious leader named Jesus Christ. Okay, that's fine. So Christians believe in Jesus, but what do Catholics believe? If Christians believe in Jesus, like, do Catholics not believe in Jesus? Okay, Mark says Catholics are Christians. But are Christians Catholics? That's the area I'm, like, wondering about.
Why am I not a Catholic? 10 differences between Catholics and Christians. Christianity has about 2.2 billion people under its umbrella, out of which 1.3 billion of people are Catholics. 900 million are Protestants, and 220 million are Greek Orthodox. Now, Roman Catholic Church has went through two main splits. The first big split happened in the year 1054, where delegation was sent from the Pope Leo IX to the city of Constantinople and pretty much excommunicated the bishop or the leader of that church there because he refused to acknowledge the office and the supremacy of Pope. And ever since then, the Eastern Greek Orthodox Church split from the Roman Catholic Church. Now, I grew up in Ukraine, where predominant mainline faith in Russia, Ukraine, is Greek Orthodox.
Okay.
They differ from Roman Catholic Church.
Okay.
And here are some major differences between Roman Catholic Church and Greek Orthodox. They do believe in the same God, but they have differences. The first difference is Roman Catholics deem Pope as infallible, while Greek Orthodox believers do not. Number two difference is Roman Catholics believe that Mary is free from original sin, while Greek Orthodox do not believe that.
Okay, I want to know more about that. I want to know more about how Mary is free from sin versus not free from sin. Also, I definitely, in a way, understand the differences between Greek and Roman because, let's face it, throughout human history, Greeks and Romans never saw eye to eye. Never fucking saw eye to eye. In fact, you know what's so cool? I am going to be I'm going back to college this year. I'm going back to college for the fall semester. And one of the classes I'm taking to start going back to fall is called Classic World History. And it's all about that area of the Greeks, the Romans, all of that stuff, pre-Jesus. So I'm really excited to learn about that. And by the way, when I go back to college and I start learning about things, I'm going to share what I'm learning with you. I'm going to take you with me on my learning journey. So, if you are interested in being a part of my journey of learning, please subscribe to my channel. Please help out if you can. And, yeah, I'd really appreciate that. I'm going back as a full-time student. I'm going to be dedicating all my time to learning about... I'm majoring in sociology, and I'm not so much interested in ideas themselves because, I feel like I have a good grasp of ideas, but I want to know how humanity takes ideas and ideologies and applies them to themselves to, progress, evolve, things like that. So, I'm taking a history class. It's called Classical World History. And I'm going to be learning about these differences between, the Romans and the Greeks.
Number three, Roman Catholic priests cannot marry, while priests in Greek Orthodox can marry before they are ordained. Number four is Latin is the primary language used during Roman Catholic services, while Greek Orthodox churches use native languages of where they're at. Number five, Roman Catholics revere statues as much as Greek Orthodox revere icons. Number six is doctrines can be changed in Roman Catholic Church, while in Greek Orthodox doctrines do not change. Number seven, unlike Roman Catholics, Greek Orthodox do not accept the concepts of purgatory or...
So Mark says that people shouldn't say the differences between Catholics and Christians in the way that this guy started. Would you mind elaborating on that? Because, like I said, I grew up Mormon, so, I honestly have no idea what the fuck is going on here. I'm just, what is the difference between Catholics and Christians? Yeah, Catholics are Christians, but Christians aren't necessarily Catholics, so how does this work? I'm very intrigued, very open to this. Mark says Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, Catholics, and 99 different sects of Protestants all believe in Christianity and the Trinity. I guess that's kind of my question. What constitutes as, what set of beliefs constitute you as a Christian versus what set of beliefs constitute you as a Catholic? And what are the differences between the two? Like, if you are a Christian, but you're like, I'm not a Catholic, like, fuck Catholicism. Like, I hate Catholicism, like, but I'm a Christian. It's like, it's great. Okay. But then you have a Catholic who says, yeah, I'm definitely Christian. Like, what's the difference between the Christian who is like, I'm not Catholic, and what's the difference between that and the Catholic who says, I'm definitely Christian? Mark says they are all Christians. Cassie says my grandmother was Catholic and used to correct me if I called her a Christian. So I get that Catholics can call themselves Christians. Why do some Christians say that they aren't Catholic? Like, why does it go one way but not the other? Catholics are Christians. Great, but why are Christians not Catholics? That's the part I'm wondering about. Why are some Christians not Catholic? Martin Luther? Yeah, totally. Yo, Martin Luther. The GOAT. Martin Luther, the GOAT.
Well, with the great Profit and Pleasure, I've been reading recently Alec Ryrie's new book called Protestants, the Faith That Made the Modern World. A lot of books are coming out now because it's the 500th anniversary of the beginning of the Reformation. And I've been reading a number of them, and I think his book stands out for its lucidity and its verve and its energy. In some ways, it reminded me of Brad Gregory's book, The Unintended Reformation, and Gregory looking at it more from the Catholic side, Ryrie from the Protestant side. What I most appreciated, though, is toward the beginning of his book, is his portrait of the undisputed founder of the Protestant movement, namely Martin Luther. Now, I'll confess to a certain fascination with Luther over many years. I started reading him probably when I was in college. I've read a lot of his books and articles and sermons, etc. And then for about 10 years, when I was a teacher at Mundelein Seminary, I taught a course, kind of a graduate level course in the theology of the 16th century, which involved reading an awful lot of Luther. Say what you want about Martin Luther, he's one of the most beguiling figures of the time. I mean, he was cantankerous, he was pious, he was brilliant, he was deeply anti-Semitic, he was wonderful, and he was exasperating. I mean, all at the same time.
Whoa, deeply anti-Semitic? Whoa, buddy. Whoa, buddy. Is that something to be celebrated? I don't know. Let's continue.
And I think that's why people keep coming back to Luther with a certain fascination. The other thing, too, his writings, even though I disagree with massive amounts of what Luther says, it's hard not to like his literary style. He's one of the rare people from the time of Augustine on who's able to write in Latin with an awful lot of verve and energy. His works kind of crackle when you read them. So anyway, Luther, I've been fascinated by for a long time. Well, Ryrie sort of prompted me to squint at Luther in a somewhat new way, looking at Luther with fresh eyes. He uses the categories of fighter and lover. You know, Luther quite obviously was a fighter. Look, he took on the Roman Curia, he took on the Pope, he took on the Emperor, took on the electors of the Holy Roman Empire. He took on the inquisitors, et cetera, et cetera. Luther was a very pugnacious figure. And there's no doubt that he bequeathed to Protestantism this fighting spirit. I mean, from Zwingli and Calvin all the way through Karl Barth, you can see this sort of, protesting side of Protestantism. So that's true. But Ryrie insists, and I think he's right about this, that that's only to see a comparatively small part of the picture. Because Luther was also, and primarily, a lover. And what he means here is he's somebody who fell in love radically with God. So we know the story well, that Luther, the pious Augustinian monk, after many, many years of striving through all sorts of spiritual exercise and moral excellence to be pleasing to a just and demanding God, in the famous Turmerlebnis, the Germans call it the tower experience, Luther felt this breakthrough of grace, that he's justified not by...
Was Luther German? Who was Luther? Hold on. Oh, he was German. He was a German priest, a theologian, author, hymn writer, professor, Augustinian friar. Luther was the seminal figure of the Protestant Reformation. He was the big guy who was about the Reformation of the church. He was the guy who was like, hey, I like this church, but it's fucked. And let me tell you how it's fucked. And follow me. Luther is an interesting fucking guy.
By his own heroic effort, but by the sheer grace of God, accepted as a gift in faith. And this was mediated to him by the Bible, the great text, especially of St. Paul. So Luther fell radically in love with the God who had radically expressed his love for him. And there's the heart, if you want, even the mystical heart of Protestantism. Now, trace that as well, from everyone from John Wesley through Schleiermacher all the way up to contemporary times. You can see this, call it mystical, affective dimension of Protestantism. Now, here's why I say this caused me to squint at Luther in a new way. Because I'll use another standard set of categories. Often religious experience is analyzed according to either the mystical or the prophetic, right? So mystical is experiential. It's often the kind of priestly, sacramental side of things. Then there's the prophetic, which is very word-oriented. It's challenging, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in almost all the characterizations, Luther falls on the prophetic side of that divide. And indeed, you can find a lot of things in Luther to justify just that move. But
I mean, I don't know who this guy is who's talking about this stuff, but obviously he's a religious figure. So far, he hasn't said anything that raises any super red flags. I mean, obviously he's dedicated to his own religious beliefs. But so far in his descriptions, it seems fair from his point of view, from his reality tunnel.
Ryrie prompted me to think, I don't know, maybe that's not really adequate to it. That if anything, Luther falls on this more mystical, the lover side of the equation, Now, why do I say that helped me to see it differently? Well, think about someone now who's in love, who's fallen in love.
Okay.
What do they do and what do they sound like? Well,
when I'm in love, I make a mixtape or I mean, right? I make a playlist and I send it to my lover to convey my feelings through song. So, what do you mean?
Consult the high romantic poets or consult even a teenager talking about his first crush. They tend to use words like forever and only and always. something that's over the top, that's exaggerated in the speech of people who have fallen in love. And if I might bring this up to date, look at my great hero, the Nobel laureate.
If I had to express myself in music, if I made a playlist available on Spotify or YouTube Music of like 10 songs that mean a lot to me, like, would you all be interested in that? Like, what if I made you all a playlist of my soul? Because honestly, I think that's one of like the very profound, beautiful ways of expressing yourself is like, hey, if you want to get to know me, like, listen to like 5 to 10 songs like that I really love, that I feel are about me. Like, if I made a playlist on Spotify and I made that public, like, would you all be interested? Because I would totally fucking do that. Yes, yes, yes. I like the concept of communicating to other people through music. You know, sometimes you can learn more about somebody through their favorite song than you can through them trying to describe themselves, like, personally. Cassie says, I'd like to check it out. You know how much I love playlists. We also need to make one together for our upcoming trip. Yes, me and Cassie are planning on having a trip soon. And I definitely have songs to add to the playlist. I like playlists. Anyways. Let's move along.
Bob Dylan, who's a distant...
Bob Dylan? This religious guy is like Bob Dylan. I mean, is he wrong?
Love.
Are
if
you
I might bring
wrong
this up to date,
when you bring up Bob
look
Dylan?
Look at my great hero, the Nobel laureate Bob Dylan, who's a distant spiritual descendant, if you want, of Martin Luther, because in the late 70s, Bob Dylan becomes an evangelical Christian. He writes a song not long after his conversion called Saving Grace. It's a lovely song. It includes the line, I look around this old world and all that I'm finding is the saving grace that's over me. Now, mind you, this is the same Bob Dylan who a handful of years before had talked about Desolation Row, who had talked about unmasking the executioners, who had talked about pellets of poison flooding our waters and so on and so forth. This is a sharply, prophetically critical Bob Dylan who in the way...
We got this, like, religious guy who likes Bob Dylan and Martin Luther. Interesting.
Wake of his own experience of...
I don't know. What do we think? Mark, what do we think?
Grace can say, all that I'm finding, all that I see is the saving grace that's over me. That's the way people in love sound. Now listen to Martin Luther. The great solas, the 3 solas of the Reformation, right? Sola fide, by faith alone. Gratia sola, by grace alone. Scriptura sola, by the Bible alone. Well, what is that but the sort of excessive, extravagant, over-the-top expression of a powerful mystical experience? Now, does that hold up to strict scrutiny? No, I would say. Is it in line? Is it expressive of an experience? Yeah, powerfully so. Correct in the strict sense? No. Of course not, I would say. Now, here's my point.
I kind of like this guy. I mean, like, I can't really say, per se, that I like this guy purely based on the video that I'm watching now, but I kind of like this guy because he has some partial, not fully, but like partial sort of conceptualization of reason above all. So like he recognizes, and if you read Morg's book that they put out, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But it's like there's some conceptualization of from this guy about Martin Luther that perhaps Martin Luther was eccentric. But this guy is sort of honoring some of the intuitive process that Martin Luther had towards what he conceptualizes as the truth. But at the same time, he's critical of it and saying like, well, you know, you don't have to go through that extreme pathway. So like, I don't know, like I'm on the fence with this guy. We might have to watch more of this guy in the future, but not right now, not today.
Can we look at Luther's great statement, the solas of the Reformation, and say,
you know, I gotta say, as much as like I personally don't like religion, there are some like Catholic and just basically Christian like priests, religious figures that are actually pretty fucking smart in the sense that like they don't necessarily jazz up the religion and the ideas in a way to like allure you, but they're very like practical at explaining things. Like, I know this sounds weird to say as a Neogenian, but it's like not all priests are bad. Like some are very intelligent about the way they go about things. It's what they do in the long run for their people. It's how they lead their people in the long run, in the bigger picture that I'm more concerned about. But like singularly, like if you like narrow it down, like this guy's kind of like I kind of like what he's saying. I'm not sure yet. We might explore more of this guy's thing.
yeah, good, right, in the measure that it expresses this experience of grace. And at the same time, can we look at the Council of Trent, which offers a sharp...
What the fuck is the Council of Trent? Yo, Christianity is so weird. They're like, we got the Council of Bob here. Like, the Council of Trent? Who the fuck is Trent? And why the fuck do we give a damn?
Theological...
The Council of Trent. I love Catholicism and Christianity for the fact that they have these weird fucking councils, they have these weird groups, they have these weird sects. It's like, what are you doing? This is weird. This is weird secret society shit. The Council of Trent. Oh my fuck. Could you imagine, like today, in today's age, if somebody on TikTok came up and they were really popular and like, we are the Council of Trent. It's like, who the fuck is Trent? Who the fuck is Trent? What the fuck does Trent know? Like, what the...
statement, the solas of the Reformation, and say, yeah, good, right, in the measure that it expresses this experience of grace. And at the same time, can we look at the Council of Trent, which offers a sharp theological correction, I would say, of Luther's language.
The Council of Trent. Oh my fuck. Imagine it is like somebody is like the Council of Chris.
Trent that looks now at the relationship between faith and works, between grace.
Trent Reznor. Yo, Trent Reznor is the fucking goat. I love Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor is a fucking god in my eyes. Mark says Trent refers to where the council convened to northern Italy. This is where I'm really interested to participate in my classic world history class that I'm going to attend in college this year. I think it's going to kind of go into... I'm interested in that area of humanity where they converted from paganism to Christianity, and like how Christianity became mainstream. And not just Christianity, but like Catholicism in this sense. Very strange.
And our effort, et cetera, in a much more careful manner. And can we say, yeah, that's right? And I just wonder, I'm just kind of speculating here, is whether saying yes to both those things might actually represent a step forward in the ecumenical conversation.
Okay, I kind of like this guy. We'll just put a bookmark in that and maybe listen to him later. Let's go back to Harrison Butler. Okay, sorry.
Catholic circles will try to persuade you to remain silent. There even was an award
Let's backtrack.
about accepting your lane and staying in it. As members of the church founded by Jesus Christ, it is our duty and ultimately privilege to be authentically and unapologetically Catholic. Don't be mistaken, even within the church, people in polite Catholic circles will try to persuade you to remain silent. There even was an award-winning film called Silence, made by a fellow Catholic, wherein one of the main characters, a Jesuit priest, abandoned the church and as an apostate, when he died, is seen grasping a crucifix, quiet and unknown to anyone but God. As a friend of Benedictine College, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron said in his review of the film, it was exactly what the cultural elite want to see.
Dang, what the fuck? Hey, Morg, thank you so much for leaving a super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Also, Morg just had a book come out, by the way. Hey. Where's the book? Straight up, if you look up Neogenesis, The Dawn of a New Mind, the Neogenian System Book 1. If you are confused, because I am Neogenian, if you don't know what the fuck that is, if you're like, what the fuck is Neogenian? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Read this book. Honestly, it doesn't cost that much. You can buy it on Kindle for $10. And the book, honestly, it took me like 6 hours to read, but I read really slow. Like, I'm a slow reader, so you could probably read it within like 3 to 4 hours. So spend like 3 to 4 hours of your life. Like, download this book. If you want to know what the fuck Neogenian is about, read this book. It's going to tell you. It's going to give you the foundation, the basics. Now, there's going to be more books after this that you can go into more detail about things. But if you're just curious about like what the fuck Neogenian is, read this book. I mean, it's there. And let's see. Oh. So I noticed that there's sort of like false like reviews. Like if you go to like this book and you scroll down, like there's some false reviews, and fuck them. Frankly, fuck them. So if you buy this book and if you read this book, I encourage you to leave an honest review. Like, tell us what you think. Like, rate this book. Tell us what you think. And even though there's these people down here, oh, look at this person. This person says, it was so boring, you guys. Don't waste your money. I mean, I guess I read the book. It wasn't boring at all. So it's like, that's weird. Okay, so like, if you want to leave a genuine review, haters gonna hate? Yeah, fucking they do. I mean, honestly, if all the haters have is to leave like 1-star reviews, if that's all they have to do, I mean, I guess it's cathartic for them. I guess they get some catharsis from that by leaving negative reviews, but it's not going to do anything really. Like, I'm laughing because it's so silly. It's like, way to out yourself as like a weirdo. Anyways, going back to this guy. Thank you so much, Morg. By the way, I love the new book. The new book is great, and I'm so happy to have it. By the way, I want a signed copy of a hard copy of the book. I don't know how I can get that. Can I get a signed copy of the book?
Christianity, private, hidden away, and harmless. Our Catholic faith has always been countercultural. Our Lord, along with countless followers, were all put to death for their adherence to her teachings. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. But make no mistake, before we even attempt to fix any of the issues plaguing society, we must first get our own house in order, and it starts with our leaders. The bishops and priests appointed by God as our spiritual fathers must be rightly ordered.
Cassidy says, to get a signed copy, you have to eat a mint. I would straight up chew mint for a signed copy of the book. I would straight up, like, chew a piece of mint. Mint that I hate, that is so disgusting to me, to get a signed book of Morg's new book. Totally. Oh, straight up. I would totally eat mint. I would eat a mint ice cream cone, which I would hate for a signed copy.
There's not enough time today for me to list all the stories of priests and
I'm sorry, but this guy needs to get to the fucking head of his speech.
bishops misleading their flocks, but none of us can blame ignorance anymore and just blindly proclaim that that's what Father said. Because sadly, many priests we are looking to for leadership are the same ones who prioritize their hobbies or even photos with their dogs and matching outfits for the parish directory. It's easy for us laymen and women to think that in order for us to be holy, that we must be active in our parish and try to fix it. Yes, we absolutely should be involved in supporting our parishes, but we cannot be the source for our parish priests to lean on to help with their problems. Just as we look at the relationship between a father and his son, so too should we look at the relationship between a priest and his people. It would not be appropriate for me to always be looking.
Halloween Mom says, Jan, you need a shop with loppies. You're right. Honestly, you're right. And it's time I come to Jesus with that. It's time I come to Jesus. I must come to Jesus about the loppy lumps. We're going to do it.
Looking to my son for help when it is my job as his father to lead him. St. Jose Maria Escriva states that priests are ordained to serve and should not yield to temptation to imitate lay people, but to be priests through and through. Tragically, so many priests revolve much of their happiness from the adulation they receive from their parishioners. And in searching for this, they let their guard down and become overly familiar. This undue familiarity will prove to be.
I feel like I'm in church. I feel like I'm in church. Like, even growing up Mormon, like, I remember sitting in church and listening to, like, white guys sit up on the podium and just spout this shit. And I'm like, what? Like, what is the heart of what you're trying to tell me? Like, I don't, like, listening to this guy is the same as just, like, sitting in church and just being bored off my fucking ass.
Be problematic.
Yo, like, at this point in church, I'm not listening to this guy. I'm playing tic-tac-toe with my brother. I'm drawing on a little scratch piece of paper and playing tic-tac-toe with my sibling. Like, we're not listening to this guy.
Every time, because as my teammate's girlfriend says, familiarity breeds contempt. St. Jose Maria continues that some want to see the priest as just another man. That is not so. They want to find in the priest those virtues proper to every Christian, and indeed every honorable man: understanding, justice, a life of work, priestly work in this instance, and good manners. It is not prudent as the laity for us to consume ourselves in becoming amateur theologians so that we can decipher this or that theological teaching, unless, of course, you are a theology major. We must be intentional with our focus on our state in life and our own vocation. And for most of us, that's as married men and women. Still, we have so many great resources at our fingertips that it doesn't take long to find traditional and timeless teachings that haven't been ambiguously reworded.
Bro, you play football. What the fuck do we give a shit about what you say about humanity?
For our times. Plus, there are still many good and holy priests, and it's up to us to seek them out. The chaos of the world is unfortunately reflected in the chaos in our parishes, and sadly, in our cathedrals too. As we saw during the pandemic, too many bishops were not leaders at all. They were motivated by fear of being sued, fear of being removed, fear of being disliked. They showed by their actions, intentional or unintentional, that the sacraments don't actually matter. Because of this, countless people died alone without access to the sacraments, and it's a tragedy we must never forget. As Catholics, we can look to so many examples of heroic shepherds who gave their lives for their people, and ultimately, the church. We cannot buy into the lie that the things we experienced during COVID were appropriate. Over the centuries, there have been great wars, great famines, and yes, even great diseases, all that came with a level.
Imagine being so pent up about the pandemic and what happened and what transpired that you still are talking about it. Imagine being so conservative, so right-wing, that, like, you're still going on about the pandemic. I mean, ultimately, COVID is still around in variants, but, like, the pandemic's over, right? Like, it's pretty much over, so what the fuck are you talking about? Hi, Susan.
Of lethality and danger. But in each of those examples, church leaders leaned into their vocations and ensured that their people received the sacraments. Great saints like St. Daemon of Malachi, who knew the dangers of his ministry, stayed for 11 years as a spiritual leader to the leper colonies of Hawaii. His heroism is looked at today as something set apart and unique, when ideally, it should not be unique at all. For as a father loves his child, so a shepherd should love his spiritual children too. That goes even more so for our bishops, these men who are present-day apostles. Our bishops once had adoring crowds of people kissing their rings and taking in their every word, but now relegate themselves to a position of inconsequential existence. Now, when a bishop of a diocese or the bishops' conference as a whole puts out an important document on this matter or that, nobody even takes a moment to read it, let alone follow it. No. Today, our shepherds are far more concerned with keeping the doors open to the chancery than they are with saying the difficult stuff out loud. It seems that the only...
Bye, Cassie, I love you. Everybody tell Cassie that they love her. Bye, Cassie. We love you. Have a good night, honey. Take care.
Only time you hear from your bishops is when it's time for the annual appeal, whereas we need our bishops to be vocal about the teachings of the church, setting aside their own personal comfort and embracing their cross. Our bishops are not politicians, but shepherds, So instead of fitting in the world by going along to get along, they too need to stay in their lane and lead. I say all of this not from a place of anger, as we get the leaders we deserve. But this does make me reflect on staying in my lane and focusing on my own vocation and how I can be a better father and husband and live in the world but not be of it. Focusing on my vocation while praying and fasting for these men will do more for the church than me complaining about her leaders. Because there seems to be so much confusion coming from our leaders, there needs to be concrete examples for people to look to in places like Benedictine, a little Kansas college built high on a bluff above the Missouri River, are showing the world how an ordered, Christ-centered existence is the recipe for success. You need to look no further than the examples all around this campus, where over the past 20 years, enrollment has doubled, construction and revitalization are a constant part of life, and people, the students, the faculty and staff, are thriving. This didn't happen by chance. In a deliberate movement to embrace traditional Catholic values, Benedictine has gone from just another liberal arts school with nothing to set it apart to a thriving beacon of light and a reminder to us all that when you embrace tradition, success, worldly and spiritual, will follow. I am certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it, but the true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify Him. Reading that article now shared all over the world, we see that in the complete surrender of self and a turning towards Christ, you will find happiness. Right here in a little town in Kansas, we find many inspiring lay people using their talents. President Minnis, Dr. Swafford, and Dr. Zimmerer are a few great examples right here on this very campus that will keep the light of Christ burning bright for generations to come. Being locked in with your vocation and staying in your lane is going to be the surest way for you to find true happiness and peace in this life. It is essential that we focus on our own state in life, whether that be as a layperson, a priest, or religious.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2024, you are sitting at the edge of the rest of your lives. Each of you has the potential to leave a legacy that transcends yourselves and this era of human existence. In the small ways, by living out your vocation, you will ensure that God's church continues and the world is enlightened by your example. For the ladies present today, congratulations.
Here we go. Okay. Here's the end of the shrubbery maze. We're going to talk about women right now. Let's go. All right. Listen close. Lock in, chat. Lock in to what he's saying right now.
In the small ways, by living out your vocation, you will ensure that God's church continues and the world is enlightened by your example. For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career?
Okay.
Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bear in this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as
This guy already is coming onto the stage, standing up to the podium, and he gives this big spiel about Christianity, believing in God, principles, all this, and suddenly he dives into the concept of women graduating and what they should be doing. Miraculously, he is encouraging women to not pursue careers. Like, already he's saying, like, hey ladies who have a degree here in this college that I'm speaking at, I know you have visions of having a career, having promotions, doing all this, and yeah, sure, some of you will do that, but mostly women are going to be grounded in marrying a man, having children, being married, being in a God-driven house, being a God-fearing woman, and that's it. Man, women just can't catch a fucking break, I swear to God.
As a mother, I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife.
Bro's getting emotional. Bro's getting emotional. Yo, these guys sit there and they say, well, women aren't leaders. Women aren't the head of things. But however, at the same time, guys like this are stating that without these women, I wouldn't have been this, or I wouldn't have been without that. Because honestly, I feel like guys like this in some way fetishize womanly care. They fetishize feminine, womanly, motherly care. Guys like this want a woman to quote unquote support them, uplift them, do things in that. And I'm not, okay, let me make it very clear. When you are in a relationship, no matter if it's a cis hetero relationship or not, it doesn't matter. If you're in a relationship with somebody, it is nice and natural and productive to support your partner, right? Like to uplift your partner, to want your partner to succeed, evolve, and sometimes, maybe sometimes, as a partner, you sacrifice just a little bit of yourself so that your partner, like, thrives and survives and grows bigger. Like, maybe not all of yourself. You don't sacrifice everything, but maybe you sacrifice a little bit to, like, support your partner. Like, that's natural. But these kinds of guys, like him, when they talk about women supporting them, it's not just about, like, supporting them a little bit. It's about completely mothering and nurturing and just, like, smothering them and making them the responsibility for the success of men. And I've seen this in a lot of cases. I've seen this in a lot of conversations on the internet and between people. A lot of guys who say, hey, I don't hate women. I just think they should be subservient to men and supportive of men and be the mothers and creators and I don't know what I'm saying, but like it's almost like they see women as like the sole responsibility of developing men like him. And it's to a degree where I feel like men are like him are literally expressing that they don't have any emotional intelligence and that they specifically rely on women to give them or supplement that emotional intelligence. So it's like, oh, I couldn't be the man I am today without my lady if she didn't mother me and smother me and care for me in the way that I needed. I don't know, because I've seen, like, I saw a guy once talk about, like, his ideals of women in the role of, like, a religious man, and he straight up said that women are responsible for shaping and creating God-abiding men. And I have many thoughts about that. thoughts that I can't really convey in the moment, but let me get there.
Wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
Oh my god. I gotta rewind this because this motherfucker is getting so fucking emotional right now. My wife is a homemaker. My wife is a homemaker. Oh my god, she made zucchini bread. And the zucchini bread was made from Jesus. The zucchini bread was made from Jesus. Like, that's how this guy is sounding right now.
Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the...
I'm sorry, but that right there tells me that he did not come into the conceptualization of being a man until he relied on the mothering of another woman. It just seems so infantile. I feel like he doesn't realize that he's painting himself in a very infantile way with that. Like, men of power can't be anything without the mothering of their wives. Like, it's almost like, it's almost saying, like, not only do you have to be a wife and a mother to your children, but you have to be a mother to your husband as well. It's almost like you have it's like you have to accept the fact that you have a large child in addition to your actual children.
Many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school
Emotional.
would convert to the faith, become my wife.
Oh, shit. I met her in science class. Oh, my God. Mark says, yeah, he's got the wife/mommy/wife issues in a swirl. Yeah, I swear to God, these kind of guys, it's not like they want a wife. It's almost like they have shadow issues, right? It's almost like maybe they didn't have the relationship with their mother that they wanted to. So now they rely on their wives to supplement and provide that relationship with their mother that they originally couldn't have before. So it's almost like guys like this expect... It's almost a weird Freudian thing, right? Like, it's a weird Freudian thing where it's like, it's not just that they're interested in a woman, they're interested in a woman that represents their mother. Hi, Angela. Good to see you.
And embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
I have to rewind it. That whole shit about the homemaker. What?
God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
Oh my fuck.
She's the primary educator to our children. She's the one who ensures I never let football or my business become a distraction from that of a husband and father. She's the person that knows me best at my core, and it is through our marriage that, Lord willing, we will both attain salvation.
Right now, he's saying, I have no conceptualization of emotional intelligence. I don't know how to interact with my family or children. I am completely, outside of that conceptualization of doing that. But however, my wife reminds me that my children are people. My wife reminds me that I am a person. It's like, why do you rely on a woman to do these things for you? Why are you not man enough to do these things for yourself? Why are you not man enough to take care of your kids, to take care of your wife, to take care of yourself? Most importantly, why do you rely on your wife to take care of yourself? Could it be that you don't know how to take care of anything at the end? Could it be that deep down inside of yourself, you don't know how to take care of jack shit, not even yourself? So now you have to fucking rely on a lady to tell you what to do with that. But at the same time, you're telling this lady you have no other purpose but to tell me how to function. Like, why say that women are subservient, but then at the same time say you are so special that you have to tell me how to think and feel about family? Like, how are women simultaneously subservient to men and yet also expected to provide the emotional intelligence to have a healthy family unit? Why is all this pressure being put on women? Why is all this pressure being put on them when it is your responsibility as a quote-unquote alpha male, as somebody who's dominant, to take care and provide everything? But yet at the same time you're saying, well, I can't do any of this stuff without a woman. Like, it's almost like guys like this want women to do all of the emotional labor for them. They want women to be not just a wife, but a psychiatrist, and tell them what to do and guide them towards how to be like emotionally healthy, when they could just do that themselves. Like, guys like this man, like, they can just do this shit themselves. They don't need to rely on women to do the work for them. And that's where I feel bad for women. Women are put on the spot and they're being told, you have to fix men. Women in this scenario are being told, you are responsible for fixing a man. You are responsible for guiding a man. And it's like, why should women do that when you tell them simultaneously that they don't really matter? Zod. It's like a picking and choosing of when and when they are not important.
I say all of this to you because I have seen it firsthand, how much happier someone can be when they disregard the outside noise and move closer and closer to God's will in their life. Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has...
Skylar said they want mommy. They have mommy issues. It's totally mommy issues. People always give women crap about having daddy issues. Why can't we talk about boys having mommy issues? Why can't we talk about that? Why can't we talk about the obvious fact that this guy that we're watching right now clearly has a mommy issue? I want to know about his relationship with his mother, because clearly it didn't go well if he's relying solely on his wife to provide that nurturing for him.
Any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no. As a man who gets a lot of praise and has been given a platform to speak to audiences like this one today, I pray that I always use my voice for God and not for myself. Everything I am saying to you is not from a place of wisdom, but rather a place of experience.
Oh no, honey. Oh no, honey. Everything you're saying right now is personal. Everything you're saying right now is your personal experience. The fact that you're trying to tell us otherwise makes me suspicious of the fact that you are literally trying to tell us your own opinion under the guise of divine God.
I am hopeful that these words will be seen as those from a man, not much older than you, who feels it is imperative that this class, this generation, and this time in our society must stop pretending that the things we see around us are normal. Heterodox ideas abound even within Catholic circles, for let's be honest.
Heterodox? Heterodox. Heterodox? Heterodox. Are we getting into some homophobia right now? Because I feel like that's where we're going.
There is nothing good about playing God with having children, whether that be your ideal number or the perfect time to conceive. No matter how you spin it, there is nothing natural about Catholic birth control. It is only in the past few years that I have grown in courage to speak more boldly and directly, because as I mentioned earlier, I have leaned into my vocation as a husband and father, and as a man. To the gentlemen here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities.
No, they're not.
As men, we set the tone of the culture.
I'm sorry, but you're not. I'm sorry, but I think that's the whole problem with society and the progression of society is that we're coming to a conclusion that being a man is not the end all and be all of things. Being a man doesn't make you magically better than other people. Being a man doesn't make you magically better than women or gay men or trans people or all of that stuff. Like, it does not make you magically better than everybody else. It doesn't. And I think men like this, and I do have to say specifically, white, cis, straight men need to come to the realization that they are not special. And I don't mean to say that in a sense that like you're not important. I mean that in the sense that throughout human history, white, cis, straight men have been predominantly at the top of things. And we are now entering an era where they are not. But it doesn't mean that, like, if you're a white, straight, cis guy, it doesn't mean you're shit, right? Like I'm not saying you're shit. Like, you are not shit for being a white, straight, cis man. Like, you're not. Like you're equally as valuable as everybody else. However, society as we know it, the world as we know it, constantly caters to the perspective of white, cis, straight men. But that's not the only perspective on life. And so it really is important for white, straight, cis men to take a step down and uplift others. And by taking a step down and uplifting others, minorities, you're going to uplift yourself eventually. So it's like, I don't hate white, straight, cis men. I don't hate them. But you need to recognize that the world is designed and cultivated in a favor for you and not minorities. And you need to help us change that. You need to help us change that. Like, you're important. You're not unimportant. You're just as important as everybody else. But, like, you need to step up and uplift other people. And that's going to show your what's the word? Altruism. It's going to show your altruism. It's going to show your compassion. When you're a white cis straight man and you uplift other minorities, it's gonna make you look stronger than it is if you stare. It's gonna make you look stronger to uplift these minorities instead of standing on top and looking down upon them. You're gonna be a more respectable man by shouldering and uplifting minorities than you are doing what this fucking guy does, which is push everybody down and put them in their place.
And when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in. This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the U.S., and a correlation can be made in their drastically lower violence rates as well. Be unapologetic in your masculinity, fighting against the cultural emasculation of men.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm all about masculinity. I'm all about the masculine people. I personally do not think all masculinity is toxic. I think masculinity can be toxic, just as femininity can be toxic. But I think the last thing we need to do is focus on that. I think the first thing we need to do is focus on the positives of masculinity, the positives of femininity, and how they correlate with each other and interact with each other, and how they can complement and support each other.
Do hard things. Never settle for what is easy. You might have a talent that you don't necessarily enjoy, but if it glorifies God, maybe you should lean into that over something that you might think suits you better. I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur. Something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial.
Hey, yo, I shout out to all the introverts out there. Like, shout out to the introverts. I love you. I love you to death. I am not introverted. I'm actually extroverted. And I'm not like a pure extrovert. Like, I'm a very introspective extrovert. Shout out to all the introverts, but you are not special. I gotta say this. Like, I'm sorry. Like, shout out to the introverts. You are not special. You are not better than extroverts. And I feel like people weaponize the word introvert as to like establish yourself as better than other people. There are very introspective and insightful extroverts. And I feel like extroverts, like when you look at memes and stuff, it's like, oh, extroverts are loud, they're boisterous, they're mouthy, they don't shut up, they always talk. It's like, that's not true. That's not true. Like, can you stop frowning and dogging on extroverts? Because I think introverts tend to label extroverts in a way that like aligns them with stupidity. It's like, oh, if you're an extrovert, you're stupid. It's like, no, I'm not a fucking dumbass. Thank you. I'm not a fucking dumbass. Like me, I'm with the what is it? The classification of personality test. I'm ENFP. And honestly, like I am most of the case like ENJ something. I can't remember, but it's like I'm not an idiot, you know what I mean? A lot of introverts are like, "Oh, extroverted people, they're so loud and annoying." It's like, no, you just met the wrong extroverts, because there's a lot of extroverts that are very intelligent, very introspective, and are not all about being loud and boisterous and annoying. Like, you kind of just don't know. You know what I mean? So, like, give us a break. Anyways.
Engineering degree. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people, young and old, are embracing tradition. Not only has it been my vocation that has helped me and those closest to me, but not surprising to many of you, should be my outspoken embrace of the traditional Latin Mass. I've been very vocal in my love and devotion to the TLM and its necessity for our lives. But what I think gets misunderstood is that people who attend the TLM do so out of pride or preference. I can speak to my own experience, but for most people I have come across within these communities, this simply is not true. I do not attend the TLM because I think I am better than others, or for the smells and bells, or even for the love of Latin. I attend the TLM because I believe, just as the God of the Old Testament was pretty particular.
Oh, I remember now. So, like, I fluctuate. So, like, I've taken tests that show I am ENFP, but then I've also taken the same tests that show I'm an ENTJ. Let's see. And that's kind of like the most, like, what is said about me is ENTJ. ENTJ personality type. I can also be like, it's like either I'm ENFP or ENTJ. ENTJ personality type is extroverted, intuitive thinking, judging, which means ENTJs are energized by working with others, focused on understanding complex systems, eager to solve problems by implementing efficient solutions, and driven to be organized and fair. This combination of personality preferences produces individuals who are ambitious, charismatic, visionary leaders who love to work hard. ENTJs are usually friendly, gregarious, but in the pursuit of success, competitive, strategic. ENTJs can be sometimes blunt, critical, or impatient. Like this describes me the most as ENTJ. I'm definitely like ENFP most of the time, but like when I'm sitting down and examining like systems intellectually and critically, when I'm criticizing like systems, I'm definitely ENTJ, but like normally I'm like ENFP. Which is like the, as this says, like the campaigner personality. People with ENFP personality type are true free spirits, outgoing, open-hearted, and open-minded. With their lively, upbeat approach to life, ENFPs stand out in any crowd, but even though they can be the life of the party, they don't just care about having a good time. These personalities have a profound depths that are fueled by their intense desire for meaningful, emotional connections with others. So yeah, it's and the thing is when you take these personality tests, there's fluctuating like characteristics. So like ultimately, no matter how I test in this, I'm always extroverted. And I'm always intuitive with the N function, but the last two functions vary. So either it's an FP or a TJ. It depends on how I'm absorbing information. But ultimately, like, I am extroverted. I am an extrovert, like straight up. And that's kind of like when the pandemic happened and there was the lockdown, I had a hard time. Like, because it was really hard to go from a place where I was surrounded by people and then, like, going to a place where I was completely isolated. And I gotta say, I really appreciate my Neogenian friends. Like people like Susan and Morg and Philip and stuff like that, because like throughout the pandemic, like it was so hard for me as an extrovert to like go through all these things, like being so isolated. But the Neogenian community really came out and supported me, and for that I thank you, like, so much. Anyways, let's move on from this guy. We're gonna talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene next, but it's been 2 hours. I have to pee. I'm sorry. I have to pee. Don't go anywhere. It's gonna take me like 2 minutes to pee. So like stay here. I'll be right back. Okay. Moving along, we're going to talk about the House Oversight Committee meeting and looking at confrontation between Marjorie Taylor Greene and pretty much everybody else. So this is going to be really funny. Honestly, this is just like a little bit of sass, a little bit of spiciness. There's not really intricate or in depth that I have to commentate on this, or in depth that I have to say about this. Other than that, I just think this is funny. Okay, so like let's look. All right.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, let's go.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman.
Is she a porn star?
Okay.
What was that with what one guy saying like, oh, is she a porn star?
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Is she a porn
oh,
star?
Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about MTG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
What?
Order.
Yo, Miss Marjorie Taylor Greene said something about somebody's eyelashes. Let's back it up. Yo, she's being sassy as fuck.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Is she a
Goldman.
porn star?
That's right. He's advising. Okay.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about MTG.
I don't think you know what you're here
President.
for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
orders.
please engage the order of your committee?
Order.
Oh my god, what? Back it
Know
up.
what you're here
President.
for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
beneath
would you
even orders.
please engage the order of your committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack
Meeting will
the
suspend.
physical
Meeting
appearance
will
of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Okay.
feelings
Her
hurt?
words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are
so.
gonna move and we're gonna take your words down.
I
Thank you.
second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
should
recognizes
apologize. No, she
Perry.
should
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry, she'll be recognized. Then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then you're not striking your words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman,
By the way, if you're confused as to what's going on and you feel like what you're watching now is sort of like a petty back and forth between people who are being really immature, let me remind you that these people are representing our country. If you think this is inappropriate of people who are representing your country, you're right. I am watching this as a random person, and I'm thinking, this is the most unprofessional back and forth shit that I have ever seen in my life. Why is this here? Yeah. These people are leading your country right now, and they're sitting there bickering back and forth about eyelashes, appearance, saying nice things. I'm burping, sorry. All that shit, let's back it up. Let's back it up all the way. If you're confused as to what's going on, just know professional people who represent us and our country are participating in this stupid fucking conversation.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Mershon's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about MTG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what
ain't
you're
nothing.
Hold on.
Okay, I gotta be clear. I'm not a perfect fan of AOC. Like, I don't love AOC, but I appreciate some of the shit she does. But I don't think she's perfect, frankly. Not at all. I don't worship her. I don't necessarily care for her. She does definitely some good things, but like, I mean, if you're gonna pin AOC against MTG, I'm gonna take AOC. Like, definitely. Anybody against Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm gonna take. So, let's take it.
Here for. You know we're here about MTG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Bitch!
Order.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
beneath
would
even
you
order.
please engage the order of your committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack
Meeting will
the
suspend.
physical
Meeting
appearance
will
of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down. Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh,
Baby girl!
Even play.
baby girl.
We're gonna,
Baby.
we're gonna move, and we're gonna take.
Oh my god, I think I love AOC just for that. Just for AOC calling Marjorie, like, baby girl. Baby girl. Baby girl. Baby girl. What you doing now, baby girl? It's like infantilizing Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm all here for it.
Your words down.
I
Thank you.
second that motion.
So who will have
Baby
Ms.
girl.
Green agrees to strike her words.
Back it up.
Baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are
so.
gonna move, and we're gonna take your words down.
I
Thank you.
second that motion.
So who will have Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
should
recognizes
apologize. No, she
Perry.
should
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry, she'll be recognized. Then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then you're not striking your words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not apologizing today. Thank you very much.
Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the minority.
Pretty
Chair
self-evident.
you're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not.
of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr.
Okay, move to strike
I'd
the.
like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
I would like to strike
Strike the
those
lady's
as well.
words again.
That's
Order.
two requests to strike. That's two requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again.
All right.
Please get
Okay.
your members under
Here's the
control.
correct priority.
Yo, these people are representing our country. These people are representing our country. And they're sitting in an official political room going back and forth about this shit. I can't tell you how disappointed I am to be an American. I want to be proud. I want to be proud to be an American. But so far, I have not been given enough to feel proud about it.
Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll
All
strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
Wait, one second.
Mr. Chair, point of order. It's me.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would be personalities, correct?
Uh-oh.
Yo, she just said Marjorie Taylor Greene has a bad built butch body. Yo, this is spicy as fuck.
It's me.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's a
Hold on.
part of
I'm
the.
trying to find clarification.
Oh, that's fucking great. Oh, that's fucking great. Oh, I don't think you realize how fucking brilliant that was. Yo. Marjorie Taylor Greene came out the bat telling this woman, oh, I guess you can't see things because of your false eyelashes. And then this lady was like, okay, so, all right, if we're going to play this game, so if I say Marjorie Taylor Greene has a fucking butch body, like, it's definitely homophobic to a degree, but it throws it back at her. It throws it back at her. Like, you gotta get the conceptualization of this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is physically insulting somebody else for having false eyelashes and then not apologizing for it. And then this other lady is like, oh, okay, so if I throw that same energy that Marjorie Taylor Greene threw at me, if I threw it back at her, it's not bad, right? It's like, well, yes, it is. Oh my God, we got to start this over. I'm sorry. All the way over. This is
I'd
fucking
like to know if
beautiful.
any of the Democrats on this
I love
committee
this. This is
are
my favorite.
employing, Judge Mershon's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh,
Is she-
Goldman. That's right.
Is she a porn star?
Okay.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about
just a-
MTG.
I don't
Point
think
of
you know what
order.
you're here
President.
for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I
you
think your
feel
fake
something
eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen,
Oh, fake eyelashes.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
beneath
would
even
you
order.
please engage the order of your committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
meeting will
attack the
suspend,
physical
meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh,
Ah!
Don't even play.
baby girl.
We are gonna move and we're gonna take your words down.
I second that motion.
Sass.
Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
should apologize.
recognizes-
No.
Sass. Hold on, let me be back. I need a fucking like toothpick. There's something caught in my teeth. Hold on. 2 seconds. All right. Sorry about that. It's Philip. Hi, Philip. So great. Okay, let me backtrack. Oh my god. I'm sorry I keep repeating this video, like these like particular few minutes, but it's so funny and amusing, like I can't help it.
Words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
meeting will
attack the
suspend,
physical
meeting
appearance
will
of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh,
Girl, baby girl.
Don't even play.
baby girl.
We are gonna move and we're
Yo.
gonna take your words down.
I second that motion.
AOC telling MTG, girl, baby girl, is so fucking funny to me.
Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
Girl, baby girl.
Apologize. No.
Perry,
Apologize.
okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry, she'll be recognized. Then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well, then
seconds.
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right
striking
to
your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman,
So Marjorie Taylor Greene looked over to AOC and she says, like, why don't you debate me?
the
It's
minority.
pretty
Chair
self-evident.
rec-
To which AOC says, I think it's pretty self-evident. Well, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a fucking crazy lunatic, so why the fuck would anybody actually sit down and give their time to her?
You're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not.
of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
I would like to
Move to strike
strike
the lady's
as well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's the
control.
correct priority. Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection.
I'll retract my words, but I'm not apologizing now.
Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
Wait 1 second.
Mr. Chair, point of order. It's me.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, they would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What?
Now.
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold
a.
on.
Burn!
Clarification on what
Chairman,
I didn't-
motion to
I had
strike
no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just
You
said-
just voted to do
Y'all did it
it.
first, so you
You
don't
just
have
voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get
Like I said, if you're coming into this and looking at these people who are the lead of our country, the lead of our nation, and you're thinking, this is unprofessional. It is. These are the people leading our fucking nation right now. Being unprofessional. Being spicy, catty ass fucking school children. This is the people we have running our country. I don't know how else to explain it. Look, I don't like to be all about doom and gloom and there's no hope, because there is. There ultimately is hope. But my God, everybody who's a leader of our country right now is a fucking child. They're fucking children.
Clarification.
Look at, calm down. Calm
No,
down.
no, 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 because this
I
is
will
what
let you
y'all
get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying to
Hey,
get
Miss Crockett,
clarification.
you're not
No,
recognized.
like,
Miss
man,
I can't hear
Crockett.
you with your
and you
yelling.
don't want
Calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can
no,
you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down,
Calm down.
because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can we
come and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Mr.
Order.
Chairman.
Chair, okay.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene talks shit, and the moment that a fucking woman of color speaks up and says, like, hey, that's out of line, suddenly everybody is telling the woman of color, oh no, you're being too much. I'm sorry. Women of color deserve to be loud. Women of color deserve to be strong. Women of color deserve to be, like, blatant and matter-of-factly and laying it out and saying how it is. Women of color know what the fuck is going on. So like, to see it, honestly, everybody here in this room is way more protective of Marjorie Taylor Greene than they should be. Sorry, I want to hear from the woman of color, not Marjorie Taylor Greene, some white fucking bitch.
You're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
Yeah. Well, that's that. Anyways, we're going to move on to our last topic of tonight, which is going to be briefly about Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know. Has anybody actually watched, like, the Seinfeld series, like, in the 90s? Because I actually like that show. And Jerry Seinfeld recently has come out pretty much stating that he feels like he's targeted by woke, quote-unquote, culture, and that he can't make the jokes that he used to. Now, I gotta say, I really love the Seinfeld series. Honestly, still to this day, it's one of my favorites. But Jerry Seinfeld as a person is washed up. Like, he was relevant back in the 90s, but these days he's not really that important. But I do love, like, I have seen every episode of Seinfeld, and actually I kind of want to watch it again because, like, it's really good. Like, I love that series. I love Seinfeld. But I don't understand where Jerry Seinfeld is coming off like he can't do comedy anymore because of quote-unquote woke culture. Woke culture? It doesn't make any sense. Hey, let's watch the Humanist Report. I like this YouTuber. There's a YouTuber creator called the Humanist Report. He's really good. Like, I don't agree with everything he says, but he's really good. So if you're looking for somebody very rational to talk about, like, current events, I really highly suggest you follow the Humanist Report. He's a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's very supportive of, like, LGBTQ people and stuff like that. Like, he's not perfect, like, obviously, like, he's not Neogenian per se, but, like, a lot of his ideas I feel very in tune with. So let's just watch him for a little bit talk about Jerry Seinfeld.
People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day. Most people would go, oh, Cheers is on. Oh, MASH is on. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on. All in the Family's on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending.
PC crap. What he means by PC crap is politically correct. Oh, there's a rat outside. Get! Stupid rat. Okay, so I feed my birds. I feed the birds outside, but sometimes there's like field rats. There's like grass rats, like little brown like grass rats that like come in because I'm looking outside my window right now in front of me. I have the bird bowl, the bird food bowl, and then sometimes the rats are like, hey, this is delicious too. And I'm like, go away. Go away. Stupid rats. This is for the birds, not for you. Anyways.
The people.
I love the humanist report.
You just heard a snippet from comedian Jerry Seinfeld's appearance on the New Yorker's podcast, and he is now, I believe, the 800.
Let's see. Let's turn on the...
97th comedian to complain about cancel culture, or as he puts it, PC crap, which is interesting for the fact that he was saying the opposite just...
Let's back it up a bit.
Appearance on the New Yorker's podcast, and he is now, I believe, the 897th comedian to complain about cancel culture, or as he puts it, PC crap, which is interesting for the fact that he was saying the opposite just a year ago.
Hey Jerry, do you think cancel culture is hurting comedy?
Well, it seems like he had a change of heart. And before he said that, he said something different, which we'll get to. But I take it that he told another joke that probably nobody laughed at, and rather than being introspective and trying to write better jokes, he chose to just cite cancel culture as the reason why nobody's laughing at his shitty jokes. Because that's what a lot of washed-up comedians are doing these days, including Jerry Seinfeld. And again, we'll get to that example here. But before we dissect his comments further, there is more from that interview that I want to play.
When you write a script and it goes into 4 or 5 different hands, committees, groups, here's our thought about this joke, well, that's the end of your comedy. They move the gates, like in the skiing. Yeah. Culture, the gates are moving. Your job is to be agile and clever enough that wherever they put the gates, I'm going to make the gate.
He's just wrong. I'm sorry, but his comments suppose that edgy TV shows couldn't exist today because everybody's just become too woke or easily offended, but they do. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is probably one of the most offensive shows ever to be aired on television, and it's still running. The same is true for shows like South Park and Veep. They have some very...
Yeah, so the concept is that Jerry Seinfeld is coming out today and saying, like, hey, if I tried to do my show that I did back in the 90s, if I tried to do that today, it wouldn't fly because it would be instantly canceled. And honestly, as somebody who is a consumer of that television show, Seinfeld, I disagree, because I've seen every episode like several times of Seinfeld, and I honestly can't think of one episode that wouldn't pass today. So for Jerry Seinfeld to come out and say like, oh, I can't actually do the comedy I want to do because of wokeism, I think is lazy. Frankly, I think it's lazy. I think it's uninnovative. I think comedians who blame their career going down on quote unquote wokeism, I think they're copping out because they can't be more creative than they were then. Because like the worst that happens as a comedian today and age is that like what? You can't say like 3 or 4 words anymore in your vocabulary. Right? Like that's pretty much it. So it's like, what is it that comedians like Jerry Seinfeld are trying to talk about that is so important that it deems them cancelable? Because what it boils down to, and I do have like a direction to go from this, because I actually, I personally, me, Jan, was blocked on Twitter by a comedian. I was personally blocked by a mainstream comedian, and I'm going to tell you in a minute who it was. It's not Jerry Seinfeld. But I think it has a lot to do with this culture of like comedians thinking that they can't talk about things because of quote unquote cancel culture. But really, it's more of a matter of fact that they are so outdated and irrelevant that they can't be innovative enough to keep up with the times. If you are interested in what mainstream celebrity creator blocked me on Twitter, stay tuned. We're going to get there.
Edgy jokes.
I was blocked by a celebrity. Like, let me tell you, personally, blocked by a celebrity. Like, stay tuned.
Comedy shows exist despite offensive jokes that very much offend people. But if what he's saying sounds like cope to you, you'd probably be correct, because it's not like people aren't laughing at his jokes because they're too offensive. They're not laughing at his jokes these days because they're just not funny. But he assumes that the lack of laughs is due to people taking offense. And I say this about him because he gave an example of a joke that he told that didn't land in a 2015 episode of Late Night with Seth Meyers, and he claims that it was because the joke was too offensive. Let's watch.
I do this joke about the way people need to justify their cell phone. I need to have it with me because people are so important. Right. You know, I said, well, they don't seem very important the way you scroll through them like a gay French king. It's just...
So he claims that that's one of the edgy jokes that he told that sparked outrage, according to him. Now, I personally don't find that joke offensive at all, but most importantly, I don't find it...
Okay, so the joke is that Jerry Seinfeld is saying that most people today, when we scroll through people on, like, dating apps and stuff, we're sitting here like a gay French king going, like, you know. I get it, historically. It is kind of a funny joke, but it's not landing as hard as he wants it to.
Funny. You're a boomer trying to find a clever way to criticize young people for being obsessed with their phones, but that's just not a funny concept to me. It's been done a million times, and you're not saying anything edgy or insightful, but he goes on to explain the response that he got to that joke. Now, pay close attention to the way that he describes the outrage that that joke supposedly sparked, because it's not necessarily what it seems, at least based on his interpretation.
I did this line recently in front of an audience, and comedy's where you can kind of feel like an opinion. And they thought, what do you mean gay? What are you talking about gay? What are you saying gay? What are you doing? What do you mean, you know? And I thought, are you kidding me? I mean, we can't even... I could have...
Which is weird, because I specifically remember the episode of Seinfeld where there was this reporter woman who was like looking into stories of gay people, and there was an episode of Seinfeld where both Jerry and George were being suspected of being a gay couple. And even within the episode, they kind of caught on to that. And the characters themselves, like George and Jerry, like had moments where they said, like, hey, I'm not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And that was kind of like the butt of the joke. It's like, I'm not gay. There's nothing wrong with it. But, like, I'm not gay. And it didn't come across as offensive or really... really disproportionate or just like downplaying gay people. It actually seemed really fucking supportive. It just came across to me as like straight men being sought as and perceived as gay, but they really weren't, and they were just trying to deal with that. And they even said specifically, like, I'm not gay, but there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that was a really funny episode. So I don't know where Jerry Seinfeld is coming from when he says that he can't make jokes about gay people, because he totally did, and it came off really good.
imagine a time, and this is a serious thing, I can imagine a time when people say, well, that's offensive to suggest that a gay person moves their hands in a flourishing motion, and you now need to apologize. I mean,
nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that, Jerry. Nobody's telling you that it's offensive that gay people move their hands in a flourishing motion. Nobody's doing that. The reason people aren't laughing at that joke is because it's not really a joke. When you stand there as a comedian and say, look at this gay person moving their hands like theatrically, it's like, that's not landing. Like, I mean, it's like, we know that gay people have like flamboyant like hand gestures, and so like just making a joke where you highlight that isn't funny or insightful. It's just kind of like, yeah, well, that's what some gay men do. Some, not all. Like, gay culture isn't all about being flamboyant. Like, I have met plenty of gay men who are fucking dudes, and they're not flamboyant at all. They don't pertain to that gay culture. It's very homophobic to assume that all gay men are flamboyant. It is homophobic to assume all gay men are flamboyant. They're not. They're not.
there's a creepy PC thing out there that really bothers me.
That explains so much, because notice how nobody actually told him that they were offended by the joke. Instead, he assumed that they were offended because he said he was able to feel their opinion and assumed that they thought the joke was homophobic. He then goes on to say that he can imagine people saying it's offensive to suggest that gay men use effeminate hand gestures. But Jerry, nobody told you that they were offended, and odds are they weren't offended. The joke is just not funny. That's why they didn't laugh. And don't take the fake laughter from Seth Meyers or from the audience who's literally told to applause and laugh as validation that the joke is funny, because it's just not funny. But because he claimed that the joke didn't land because it was offensive, people just took that as fact. For example,
Christopher Smith said, "I agree, I'm very masculine for being gay." Yeah, being gay does not automatically mean that you are flamboyant, and being a gay man doesn't mean that you are sub-man. And I think that's a lot of the homophobia. It's like, if you're a gay man, you're seen as sub-man. Like, you're not actually a man, you're just kind of like a level below it. And I think that's incredibly fucked up and unfair. Because, like I said, I've met plenty of gay men who are very masculine. So it's just... And who cares if they aren't? Who cares if gay men aren't masculine? Who gives a shit if gay men are flamboyant? Who cares if they're masculine? As long as gay men are happy, I don't give a shit what they are. As long as they're happy. Like... It's just very weird to me to assume that all gay men are just flamboyant, feminine, and sub-man. It's not true.
well, if you look at the top 2 comments on that video, they say, to learn who rules over you, simply find out who you are not allowed to criticize. Voltaire. Well, I guess that the caricature of a PC snowflake that Jerry made up in his mind rules over him, apparently, based on this. Another one says, Seinfeld is one of the cleanest comics out there, and the fact that he's hitting speech barriers is troubling. Very troubling. Yeah, it's almost like he made it up, and that's not actually true. But I mean, this is just the thing that older, washed-up comedians say now. I'm sure that he's told funny jokes in the past, but he's past his prime, obviously, right? And rather than accepting that people just don't find jokes about airplane food funny, he lies to himself and tries to convince himself that the joke was just too edgy. That's why people weren't laughing. Sure, that's definitely the problem. It's not that your jokes aren't funny, it's that they're all offended and they just don't get your intellect and your humor. But I mean, he's not alone, again, because this is what a lot of comedians have been saying lately. They'll tell the 467th joke about pronouns and say they identify as blank, and then when nobody laughs, because we've heard that joke a million times, they'll pretend as if nobody laughed because they were offended, when in actuality, it's just not funny. Don't blame cancel culture. Write better jokes, you fucking hacks. And I mean, if cancel culture was as big of a threat...
Yo, straight up, like, don't blame cancel culture for you failing as a comedian. Blame the fact that you don't write good jokes anymore. Perhaps you wrote good jokes in the past, but they're not relevant anymore, and they're not funny. Every other fucking comedian, when they talk about trans people or non-binary people, they always make the joke like, oh, some variation of like, oh, I identify as an attack helicopter, or I identify as this, or I identify as that. And it's always the same fucking joke about like non-binary people not identifying as a man or a woman. And it's old. It's old. Okay, any comedian who makes a joke about, oh, I identify as a piece of cheese or something like that, like, in reference to trans people, to non-binary people, it's old. It's already been done since like for fucking like a decade. Like, I'm not even joking. Like 15 years ago, people were already making jokes about non-binary people. Like, oh, I identify as an attack helicopter. Like, I identify as a... The joke's been done. It's over with. It's over. It's not funny anymore. It's not funny. Me as an... I am a non-binary person. I am also trans. You don't have to understand that completely to get that, but I am non-binary and trans. But like when I hear the joke of like, oh, I identify as an attack helicopter, it's like it was funny at a point, but it's so overdone now. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's not funny anymore. It's done. That joke was made 15 years ago, and we're no longer thinking that's funny anymore.
As comedians like Jerry Seinfeld say it is, then don't you think he would have been canceled after it came to light that he reportedly dated a 17-year-old when he was 38? Because, I mean, if that doesn't get you canceled, then I don't know what will, because that's pretty fucking creepy. But he hasn't been canceled. In fact, he just landed an interview with The New Yorker, as you saw. Furthermore, explicitly bigoted comedians like Dave Chappelle have not been canceled. He's still getting more specials on Netflix. So you're still allowed to say offensive jokes. So I don't understand, I guess, what the argument is, right? If you say offensive jokes, you don't want criticism. But again, like, it's Jerry Seinfeld, so he's not necessarily saying things that are offensive, at least based on what he said offended people. So I guess that he's just like mad that people aren't laughing at his jokes. And I mean, like, if you go to the stand-up comedy section on Netflix, it feels like there's a new special every week called Triggered or Cancel This, Snowflakes. And I find it so insufferable and pathetic that so many comedians won't just own the fact that their jokes are failing. People aren't offended. Your jokes are a failure. But I mean, failure is an inevitable part of the process of comedy, is it not? Some jokes are going to work. Some aren't going to work. It's just something that you have to workshop and try.
Yeah, no. Okay, so Skylar says, I identify as a feminine trans man, hence Neogenian femboy Skylar and trans femboys are valid. I'm in the same boat. Not particularly. I identify as trans masculine. I'm not a trans man per se. I take testosterone and I'm very masculine in some senses, but I identify with a masculinity that is comparable to people like David Bowie or like Prince. Like, I'm very much in the camp of like, I'm masculine, but like there's a big feminine application applied to that. And I don't expect everybody else to understand that. I think, Skylar, you might understand me in some ways, but it's like I'm masculine. I'm not a dude per se, but I like being referred to as a dude. But like I said, I'm about as masculine as David Bowie or Prince. Like I'm as masculine as the guy who wears high heels, lipstick, and steals your girl, right? Like, that's me.
With different crowds. And yes, there are times where jokes do offend people, but rather than instinctively denouncing the woke mob, you could try to understand where you went wrong and adjust your comedy so that way more people laugh at your jokes. Because, I mean, if you want to be a comedian, the point is to be funny and make people laugh, right? So why wouldn't you want to improve if a joke that you tell doesn't land? I just don't understand. And Kevin Hart is a perfect example of this. Back in 2018, he was supposed to host the Oscars until jokes about him beating his son with a dollhouse if he were gay resurfaced. And as a result, the organization, I don't remember the name of it, that hosts the Oscars said that he needed to apologize to keep the gig, and he refused. So he lost the gig. And at the time, that got a lot of people talking about cancel culture, including Kevin Hart himself. But you know what he did? He reflected on that situation, and he tried to empathize with the people criticizing him. And in a 2020 interview with Men's Health, he admitted, quote, "With the whole Oscars thing, there was a big gap between what I thought the problem was versus what the problem really was," he says. He got angry, reacting as though the only problem was that people were calling him homophobic, which he feels certain he's not. Quote, "I got 10 years where I made sure to not joke or play in the way that I did back then because it was a problem," he says. "I don't care if you're gay or not gay. I'm a people person. I'm going to love you regardless." But now he sees a layer that he overlooked at the time, that he missed a chance to condemn violence in every shape and form to anyone for being who they are. "It wasn't until close friends like Wanda Sykes, Lee Daniels, and Ellen DeGeneres talked to me and explained what they didn't hear me say that I understood. Then I was like, oh shit, I did fuck up." Now, before you accuse him of caving to the woke mob or getting infected with the woke mind virus or some shit like that, it's not like he's suddenly saying that cancel culture is good. In fact, in other interviews, he said that cancel culture can be stupid at times and that he himself has been canceled 3 to 4 times, which kind of demonstrates that comedians just use cancel culture as a synonym for getting criticized. But either way, the difference between
cancel culture, I think this is a good point by Humanist Report. And I think this is Mark, I feel like Mark, not to call you out, but like I feel like you're kind of a humanist. I think you would like this guy, so I think you should follow him if you don't. But like talking about like how let me rewind that.
Fuck up. Now, before you accuse him of caving to the woke mob or getting infected with the woke mind virus or some shit like that, it's not like he's suddenly saying that cancel culture is good. In fact, in other interviews, he said that cancel culture can be stupid at times and that he himself has been canceled 3 to 4 times, which kind of demonstrates that comedians just use cancel culture as a synonym.
Yeah, okay, so like cancel culture is sometimes used as an excuse, whereas the more aware and adept comedians realize, oh, this isn't cancel culture. This is an opportunity to grow, evolve, and be better. Mark says, my professor who had a PhD in clinical psych told me that decades ago that androgyny is a healthy trait. Men with traits culturally were regarded as feminine, and women with stereotypical masculine traits empathize with and understand each other. And that's such a good point. It's like, yo, you don't have to be non-binary. You could be a perfectly cis straight man, a cis straight white man, and be like, hey, you know, I got some feminine qualities and traits that enable me to empathize with women that I can explore, and vice versa. There's perfectly straight cis women who are like, I have some masculine qualities that I can relate to men. And there can be a bridge there and an understanding. The problem is that's not the end all and be all, and that these cis men and cis women, these straight cis men, straight cis women, exploring these other things, they have to then open themselves up to the possibility that other people are moving beyond that. And they're moving beyond in a way, like for me, where it's like, hey, I really am not like a man or a woman. I have explored both those things and neither align with me, and I feel like I'm something else. That's where I feel like these cis straight people who are open to exploring things should extend more empathy to those who are like, I'm non-binary. I don't identify with either. I can't find a space between either. Therefore, I am my own thing.
For getting criticized. But either way, the difference between Kevin Hart and Jerry Seinfeld is that he's not hiding behind cancel culture as an excuse for his bad or offensive jokes. He had important conversations with people impacted by his jokes and understood that the jokes he was being criticized for weren't actually the kind of jokes that he wanted to tell, because he was punching down and in effect hurting people. And he mentioned this again in an interview with Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes, and here's what he said.
Wanda Sykes said, there's people that are being hurt today because of comments like the ones that you made then. And there's people that will say that it's okay to make those comments today based off of what you did then. It was presented to me in a way where I couldn't ignore that.
So he was defensive at first, like a lot of people are when they're criticized, but he put aside his feelings and his ego, and he ultimately chose to learn and grow from that situation, which I find commendable. This doesn't mean that he's not going to tell jokes about gay people, but it means that the kind of jokes that he tells is probably going to be different going forward, because if the goal is to make people laugh, which is the point of comedy, then it's best not to do that by punching down, because you're just going to get less laughs. That's a fact, right? He's not saying gay people are untouchable. He is saying that what he says about gay people and how he jokes about them matters. And that understanding right there that he's demonstrating is why he's relevant and Jerry Seinfeld is not. Because Kevin...
That's great. So Mark says, I'm cis, straight, whatever. You're a cis, straight, white guy. Mark is a cis straight white guy, but we love him, and because that's not a derogatory term. It really isn't. Like, it's just a term. I want to be very clear about that. When I call somebody cis white straight, like, it's not derogatory. It's factual. Anyway, so Mark says, I'm cis straight whatever, and a singer at heart with enormous admiration for David Bowie and Freddie Mercury. Men in makeup don't bother me. And what I like about them has nothing to do with sexual attraction. At the end of the day, I'm still hetero, but not bloody limited or bigoted. That's so beautiful. That's so pure. Because honestly, there's plenty of straight, cis, white men. They don't even have to be white. Like, but there's, like, plenty of straight, cis men who, like, to me, personally, the ones that stand out to me are the ones that are so comfortable that they say they love trans people. They love gay people. And they're not even afraid to talk about gay sort of like inklings, right? Like the men, the cis men that I've seen who are very comfortable about themselves, they'll look at another man and be like, yeah, I do that. You know what I mean? Like, those are the comfortable men. Like, they look at other men and they're like, the guy's hot. I'd spread my legs for that, you know, like they are the most comfortable, beautiful, like just like very genuine men. And Mark, I gotta say, you are a very genuine man. Shout out to Mark, who is one of my moderators. Mark, to me, is somebody who is just very insightful, very empathetic, and very open to other people. And just a little shout out to Mark. Mark, you're a beautiful human, and thank you so much for being a part of my life. All right, let's finish this.
Kevin Hart is trying to master his craft when he doesn't really have to grow as a comedian because he's at the top of his game. Whereas Jerry Seinfeld peaked a long time ago and is offended because nobody's laughing at his shitty boomer jokes. But again, Jerry Seinfeld is not being canceled for telling homophobic jokes. Rather, he's interpreting people not laughing at his jokes as cancellation for homophobic jokes when nobody actually said that. He imagined that they were offended because they weren't laughing at his jokes. Like, it's plausible that he has other examples in his mind of people being mad at his jokes or offended at his jokes, and you know, maybe it's not that he has an axe to grind, but I mean, for someone as milquetoast as Jerry Seinfeld, it just really feels like he's personally upset that the younger generation doesn't find him funny. And I mean, there's an age gap, there's cultural differences, maybe you're out of touch, maybe you just have different views compared to young people. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Maybe you have different views compared to young people. Meanwhile, Mark is saying, I'm old as fuck, so if I didn't have emotional maturity now, it would be never, so there's that. Mark, you are in the category of wise, I don't want to say crone, but like because a crone is like a wise old witch woman. You're kind of like the male version of that. I don't know what that would be called. You're kind of like maybe like a wizard, like a warlock, just kind of like there in your castle with your infinite wisdom, because you do have a lot of wisdom. I'm gonna be honest, like you do have wisdom. I'm not joshing you or being like over amplifying everything. Like, you genuinely are like a wise person. Whatever male version, sage maybe, like, I don't know, whatever a wise old crone is, Mark is the male version of that.
Doesn't make you a bad comedian, but I think that it makes you a bad comedian if you're going to say that they're the problem if they're not laughing at your jokes. No, you just don't appeal to them, or you're not funny. Write better jokes. I don't know what to tell you. And to the extent that cancel culture exists, it doesn't really affect the rich and the powerful. It affects the powerless. But I mean, on the subject of people being offended, Jerry, you're the one who's kind of being a triggered snowflake yourself. You're not entitled to get laughs at every single fucking joke that you tell. And if that offends you, then I don't know. I guess maybe you're the one who should find yourself a safe space with the other washed up comedians who can't accept that their shit's just stale. And the problem isn't that people are too PC or too woke or too offended. The problem is that you just need to write better jokes and you don't want to do that. So I don't know what to tell you. Do better or shut the fuck up.
Woke mob. Woke mob.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke ideology.
Woke test.
Woke ideology.
Woke Olympics.
Woke ideology.
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 Weaponized wokery.
Woke ideology.
Weaponized wokery. Speaking of comedians that are like Jerry Seinfeld, who say that their jokes don't land anymore because of woke ideology, Ricky Gervais has blocked me. Straight up. I honestly don't know why, because I mean, if I had said something to Ricky Gervais, I don't remember. Ricky Gervais is a guy that is seemingly in support of LGBTQ people. He seemingly is good, right? Like he made good movies. He's got good comedy, like stand-up, like sessions. But if you actually listen to what he's saying about like trans people, it's not so supportive as you think. I honestly have no idea what I said or did. And honestly, if you remember, there was a live episode I did, maybe like a month ago. Like it was a while ago, but I covered a guy who was a podcaster who was supported by Ricky Gervais. And it was the guy who said that he made the bold statement that you are your body. Like you are your body. And as a Neogenian, I challenged that and I'm like, hey dude, this is kind of getting into the hard problem of consciousness, which if you're not familiar with that, by the way, read the new book coming out, like that's out now with Morgue. Morgue just released a book that will discuss the hard problem of consciousness. So like this podcasting British random guy who was saying like you are your body in response to trans people, and I'm like, hey, well, wait a minute. And this is actually covered on my live stream like a few weeks ago. Like I actually covered this guy, and he was supported by Ricky Gervais. So I'm assuming that Ricky saw that, because if there's anything I've said directly to Ricky Gervais, I don't remember, or I honestly don't know. But this guy blocked me straight up. I am blocked by Ricky Gervais because like he supports people who are very anti-trans. You know, they're very bigoted. They're very lost in the sauce. So it's really interesting to me to like go to Ricky Gervais's like Twitter page and see that I am specifically blocked. Hey, yo, if anything I say on my Twitter page that Ricky Gervais doesn't like, I'm going to wear it proud, because I am not ashamed of anything I've stated on my page. By the way, if you're on Twitter, check it out, because like I'm on Twitter and very proud of it. So yeah, I guess I am personally blocked by Ricky Gervais, and frankly, like, I'll wear it as a badge. Like, thank you. Like, I don't know what the fuck I did to piss this guy off, but whatever it is, I'm gonna wear it. I'm going to wear it. Mark says, you want to see something hilarious? Yeah, link me. I don't know if I can view it on the stream right now, but anyways, I'm blocked by Ricky Gervais. I just wanted to watch this last bit about comedy and trans people, and then I think I want to watch Skibbity Toilets. We're going to watch a little bit of Skibbity Toilets after this, but until then, here's this. Skibbity pop up, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to Facebook Uncensored. Well, this didn't take long. Within hours of Ricky Gervais's...
By the way, Piers Morgan is a piece of shit. If you are concerned or wondering where my opinion lies with Piers Morgan, I think he's a piece of shit. I don't like him. I don't like him.
Hilarious new Netflix special being released. The cancel culture mob is trying to finish him off. claiming that his jokes about the trans community are hurtful and damaging.
I love the new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? You know, the new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and they're as good as gold. I love them. No, it's the old-fashioned. And now the old-fashioned, they go, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person that isn't a lady? Well, his penis. Her penis in bigot.
Well, joining me now is the filmmaker, writer and actor John Waters and trans comedian Dahlia Bell. So welcome.
By the way, I love John Waters so fucking much. Like, he is one of my fucking saints. And his reaction and response to all of this is so perfect. It's almost like he has this smile on his face that he knows Piers Morgan is full of shit, but he's here anyways for the show. So, fuck yeah.
To both of you. Dahlia, let me start with you. I watched the whole Ricky Gervais Netflix special, and it was outrageous. It was very funny. It was controversial. It was laugh out loud and shocking, but ultimately it was comedy. What do you think?
Is that a question or just your opinion?
It's my verdict on the thing. I just wondered whether, A, have you seen the whole thing, or are you reacting just to the clips that have gone around Twitter today?
Yeah, so I haven't gotten a chance to see the full thing yet. Unfortunately, only the clips, which just aren't funny. It's more a matter of boredom for me than anything else, though.
Right. I mean, let me ask you, though. Do you find any jokes about the trans community funny? Or do you believe that they should...
So I find jokes about the trans community to be really funny when they're actually made by trans people. The problem is 99% of the jokes about trans people that you hear today are by people that are not trans. So it comes off as dry. Like, I as a trans person am like totally open to like trans jokes, but when they're made by people that aren't trans, it's just like, it doesn't hit as well. Because I've seen plenty of ridiculous, like, offensive jokes made by actual trans people about trans issues that are fucking funny. But trans jokes that are made by people who aren't trans, they come off as not it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd be trying to struggle. If I was to tell a trans joke now, would you laugh if it was funny?
If it was well written and it was funny, then absolutely.
You see, this is my problem, John, because I don't think that is true. Because whenever I've tried to have fun with the trans community about any of these issues, all hell breaks loose. I had a trans activist on last week trying to talk about some of these issues and was screamed down and abuse hurled at me and so on. What do you feel about this? I mean, is Ricky Gervais, Dave Chappelle, these guys doing this stuff on Netflix, are they crossing a line, or is there not a line for comedians? Should they be allowed to effectively mock any community? John, can you hear me?
Yes, maybe.
Oh, that was for John, actually. John, can you hear me?
Me? Yes.
Yes, John. That was aimed at you. Is there a line? Is there a line that comedians shouldn't cross when it comes to the trans community? Or should they be like any other community, just should take their comedic medicine?
Yeah. Well, here's how I get it. You know, it's a straight guy making trans jokes. And trans people, I get why they're angry. They get murdered, you know. There's nowhere for them to go to the bathroom when they're out. But I think I can make jokes about, I have in my new book a dog that believes he is trapped in the body of a cat and starts living the life of surprise with a Z, and the other pets accept him except for his facelift, that because she's had a facelift that makes her look kind of the wind tunnel look like Joan Crawford. So yes, I think you can, but maybe if it's a straight guy, ask Eddie Lizard what he thinks.
Right, Eddie, Eddie would probably say you could.
Ask any lizard what he thinks. I don't think Piers Morgan realizes how hard John Waters just fucking insulted him right now.
Love. I want to play another clip to you if I can, Dahlia. This is also from the Ricky Gervais Netflix special. It's about why he feels he should tell trans jokes.
I talk about AIDS, famine, cancer, the Holocaust, rape, paedophilia. But no, the one thing you mustn't joke about is identity politics. The one thing you should never joke about is the trans issue, right? They just want to be treated equally. I agree. That's why I include them.
Now, you are a...
And here's what my opinion on Ricky Gervais or whatever. When it comes to Ricky's comedy, it seems like he's supportive of trans people. It very much, on surface level, looks like Ricky Gervais supports trans people, right? Like, it's like he kind of says it himself, like, oh, I include trans people in my jokes too. But he also mentions very specifically that, oh, this is a very sensitive subject that you kind of have to be careful about. So it's like, on one hand, he's aware of trans issues, but at the same time, he feels like he's above it. But he's not trans, and he doesn't understand the trans experience. So it comes across as dry. And that's why I say, like he is transphobic. And I don't know what the fuck I said to fucking have him block me personally, but Ricky has blocked me personally on fucking Twitter. And hey, if he doesn't think I have any good insight to humanity, fuck him, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Trans comedian. Right? Is he right? Is he right to say if you're going to be genuinely inclusive, Dahlia, then you should include everyone and everything?
As long as you're original and creative with it, then sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's a me is the bottom line. You know, when I watch the whole special, and I know how Gervais works, you know, a lot of the humour is poking fun at people and the way they go about having these debates. It's not designed to be malicious. He says in the special, he fully supports trans rights. I've seen trans comedians coming up on Twitter today saying he's always been very supportive. I don't think he's got a transphobic bone in his body, and yet within hours of this.
What trans comedians? What trans comedians are you talking about?
This special being released, he's being bombarded with abuse and people trying to cancel him for being transphobic.
And don't they have every right to be offended and say they don't like a joke?
Well, they do, but they don't have any right to cancel
people
him
don't
for a
like,
joke.
and if they don't like it, then I rewrite the joke.
Look how big John Waters is smiling. Look how fucking big John Waters is smiling. That man is a gem. He knows exactly what the fuck is going on.
been canceled.
Well, no.
Like, give me an example of one comic that's actually.
I will give
been
you an exact
canceled.
example
Louis
of someone.
C.K. literally sexually assaulted women.
Well, no, I don't. I'm not defending that. Here's what I would say to you: Dave Chappelle, as you know, was nearly cancelled from Netflix by an internal uprising by Netflix
Oh yeah,
employees.
he got paid $60 million. I feel so bad for him.
It wasn't successful, but you do. Yeah, but you do know there are attempts to cancel people like Chappelle, like Ricky Gervais. I just wonder whether you, as a
There
trans
are
comedian,
people saying they don't like things. It doesn't matter.
yeah, but there's a difference between saying you don't find something funny or even that you find it offensive. Of course, you can do that, but you shouldn't have to then cancel people or demand they lose their jobs. That, to me, is a line where free speech gets trashed.
Except that we also have free speech to say that we don't think someone should have a job.
All right, John, come in there.
So I think it's much easier. Like, I don't do a lot of black jokes. I'm not black. I don't do a lot of Jewish jokes. I'm not Jewish. It really helps if you are the minority that's making the joke about minority. But I do believe that everything is fair, and comedy is a cliff you walk in. When I was young, the censors were against any kind of nudity. And the censors today, on the other side, come in if you make a movie and someone's nude, they have an intimacy coach where you have to put a fake vagina over the vagina if anybody's going to have lunch downtown, because then you're not touching the real thing. So it is confusing.
Dahlia, last word to you, because I do want to have respect for the trans community. I don't want to expose the trans community to any bigotry or hatred, but I do think that part of the way through all this is for everyone to perhaps have a same sense of humour that perhaps you do about it, actually.
Perhaps. I think everyone's entitled to approach it as they see fit.
Well, let's leave it there, because I happen to agree with you. John, would you agree with that?
Are there any trans comedians? I'm trying to think of. I know a lot of gay comedians. You know,
that's such a good point. Okay, so John Waters is bringing up a good point right now. And kind of like the point of all this. The only people so far, the only people who are making jokes about trans people are people who are not trans. So it's a good kind of like, it's a good thing to bring up. Like, how many actual trans comedians are there? Because nobody's making jokes about trans people from the perspective of trans people. They're only making jokes about trans people from the perspective of people who are not trans. So where is it funny? Where is it practical? Like, where should we do the haha when everybody so far is making joke about trans people without really including trans people?
That's what I don't get. We all used to be in this together. Gay, drag queens, trans, everybody all together. Now we're fighting with each other. I think we should all just scare straight people. I try to. If I'm ever at an office party and I see a straight guy like sucking down an oyster, I tell him, that's what it's like. You know, just to make people nervous. I think gays, trans, everybody.
Yo, John Waters, no matter what film he has made in his past life, which, by the way, when it comes to John Waters films, I'm such a fan. I'm a big, giant, glushing, slobbering fan, like, of John Waters films. But, like, it's always... Let me backtrack real quick to, like, get my thought.
Comedians. You know, that's what I don't get. We all used to be in this together. Gay, drag queens, trans, everybody all together. Now we're fighting with each other. I think we should all just scare straight people.
That's my point, is like John Waters, whenever you watch his films, it's always about scaring the normies. And it's not necessarily being about straight or cis. It's about this cookie cutter American dream sort of expectation of what people should be. Men are men and women are women and women are subservient to men. And John Waters in every fucking film and piece he's put out has meant to challenge normalcy. Some few films I like about from John Waters. Female Trouble is one of my most favorite fucking films. Female Trouble is directed by John Waters, this old guy to the left that you see, this old bald guy. Another film he directed is Pink Flamingos, which is fabulous for articulating the anti-hero. If you want a good conceptualization of an anti-hero, watch Pink Flamingos. It is a hero that is disgusting, dirty, and you don't want to win, but you know they are the only hero in the story. Another good film by John Waters is Cecil B. Demented. Cecil B. Demented is all about like the concept of like what is considered a good film and doing everything against that. So like Female Trouble, Pink Flamingos, Cecil B. Demented. John Waters also did Hairspray, if you're curious. But like John Waters, my most favorite film is Female Trouble, starring Divine, the drag queen. The next favorite of mine is Pink Flamingos. If you want, when I talked about earlier, like, how, like, when I talked about earlier, like, how you can, like, create a playlist of, like, songs, and that can be, like, sort of an insight to somebody and, like, what they love or dislike. If you really want to know me and films that I love, you should watch either Pink Flamingos or you should watch Female Trouble. Those two movies I love so fucking much. And they are not happy movies. They're not comfortable movies. Like, they're very hilarious if you have a morbid sense of humor. Like if you find very morbid, crass things hilarious, like, these are movies for you. But, like, otherwise, these are not nice movies. Like, Pink Flamingos is literally based on people, like, being the nastiest fucking people on earth. And that is what is presented as your hero. Female Trouble, you still are trying to root for the main protagonist, but the protagonist is fucked up. So Female Trouble and Pink Flamingos are really good movies. Cecil B. Demented is a really good fucking movie too. So, like, please watch those movies because, like, I love those fucking movies. Like, they're my favorite. I'm gonna watch this that Mark sent me. Mark sent this video to me. I don't know what. Okay, rewind. Let me lock in from the beginning. That's so funny. Yo, I don't know what I did to get Ricky Gervais to block me directly on Twitter, but honestly, I must be doing something good because I'm being challenged by, like, mainstream sort of, like, celebrity comedy. This dude literally blocked me on Twitter. Like, what the Yeah, straight up. Let me look up Ricky Ricky Gervais. Okay, so this is his official, like, Twitter account. I'm blocked! I don't know what I did to make this man so fucking sensitive. Like, I guess just existing. Like, honestly, like, I never had, like, a back and forth between me and him. Like, there was never really any words exchanged, but, like, somehow I'm blocked because he is notorious for blocking not only trans people, but, like, trans allies. So, very odd. Anyways. Well, the last thing we're gonna watch for tonight is Skibbity Toilets. Just gonna kind of dive into that. It's a completely separate subject from everything here. Skibbity. Skibbity Toilets. We're going to get into Skibbity Toilets. So, Skibbity Toilets kind of like starts off with the concept of a man's head in a toilet. And that's funny, right? But Skibbity Toilets kind of like... it transitions to this conceptualization of art where it is seemingly obtuse, it's crass, it's nonsensical. However, it seemingly has a point. And I don't know what that point is, but it seems to fucking like coincide with capitalism. Like, let's talk about it. Like, let's watch Skibbity Toilets and, how about you all tell me if you see any deeper meaning to this?
My style is ridiculous. Yes, yes. This my style is ridiculous. Yes, yes. We're here to hurt the body.
Okay, so like right off the bat, when you look at Skibbity Toilets and like you listen to like the song, I've heard this song before because this is kind of like the particular music genre I'm into, which is like the 1990s sort of like club music. So like I can't remember what song this is originally from, but I do recognize it. So let's just kind of get into this.
This my style is ridiculous.
Sorry, it's so dumb. Keep in mind, like, this is originally, like, a genre of art that is meaningless, but then, like, when you get into it, it seems like there is meaning here. And I don't know what the meaning is, but it seems to correlate with capitalism and forces against it. Anyways. Okay. Yes, yes. Yes. Some of these are like blocked out, and I don't know what it means. Okay, that sounds exactly like Lady Gaga's, one of Lady Gaga's songs. Something flush that. It's scary, right? But then there's this... You got these skibbity toilets. You got like these people like these heads coming out of the toilets. But then there's this other force that's dressed in like sort of like Matrix like agent style like things, like fighting against it. So like it's so weird with skibbity toilets. It's like you have one force and another force sort of like fighting together. And it seems like there's meaning there, but I don't know quite what it means. Okay, flushing it. Spray. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, we could go on with like skibbity toilets forever, but you're just gonna have to look it up yourself. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody who has joined me today. We're what is it? 3 hours. 3 hours and 30 minutes of live streaming. I think we're done now. Okay. We're done now. Thank you so much, everybody who has joined me tonight. I really appreciate you coming here. And please subscribe. Please share my live streams all over the place. I would really appreciate that. Anyways, have a good weekend. And tomorrow on Saturday, I will be gaming. So if you are familiar with me starting to game, you know that the last couple of weeks we played the pool rooms game, and tomorrow we're gonna be playing a similar game called Dream Core. It's going to be very similar, but it's going to be different. So it's going to be the same principle. So anyways, if you're into that, join me tomorrow. Saturdays are gaming night. Fridays are talking about shit that's going on in the world. Saturdays are gaming night. So join me tomorrow for gaming night. Okay? But until then, have a good night. Eat lots of snacks, and please get some sleep. Like, get some sleep. Go to bed. Get some sleep. Get some rest. All right? We'll see you tomorrow. Okay? All right. I love you all. Take care. We'll see you soon. And I wish you well. All right. Okay? Okay. Good night, everybody. Mwah. Mwah. Wait, it didn't even do the thing. Okay, all right, all right. Mwah.